Africa at the EC Council. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me appreciate with a warm round of applause Mr. Sanjeev Sharma as he comes forward to give us his presentation. And as we say in Swahili, makofi tafadhali. Welcome, Sanjeev. We're glad to have you here. Thank you very much.
Hello. Yeah. All right. Great. So, thank you so much for that introduction. The gentleman who was speaking before me, that was before lunch, he said the session before lunch is the toughest one. To me, I think it's the one after. So at least before lunch, people are looking forward, listening very intently to each and every word which the speaker is saying, trying to understand when is he going to finish. But the one after lunch is people are very satisfied, and so let me see if I can keep you guys awake after lunch. About keeping awake, let me just give you a trivia. I was asked to be here in the morning, and I was yesterday evening in Egypt, so I had to take a late night flight. So I've been flying all night, and early morning I had to be here. I'll try to keep standing for the next half an hour. Okay, so I've been asked to talk about AI in cybersecurity. Before I do that, how many guys over here have seen Indiana Jones, the latest one? Anybody? Yep. Anybody else over here? Okay. I was hoping to see more hands up. Maybe I took a wrong example. Indiana Jones is probably our age when we were looking at those movies. But what I was trying to say is there's AI all around us. All around us. So the movie which I was mentioning, they de-aged the character in that. And you can do all of this today with AI. You can de-age people, you can impersonate people, you'll get calls from people who are actually not the guys who they are. You get mails from people where the email is masked, it's coming from somewhere else. And all this, while it was bad enough that it was being done manually, with AI, it's getting even better, and more smartly these things are happening now. So that's my talk today about AI in cybersecurity, what it is, what should we be doing about it, how does it affect us in a daily life in cybersecurity, which are the areas in which we can use it, what do we do about it, and what are the advantages, disadvantages, is it something we should do or not. So moving on, next slide please. In terms of AI, we have broadly the narrow AI, general AI, and super intelligent AI. AI specifically refers to development of computer systems or machines that can perform tasks that typically require human intelligence or human day-to-day course, something like reasoning, listening, perception, even decision making. So these are things which we do as humans on a day-to-day, but this is what now AI is trying to do, and it is doing it pretty well. Some of the examples, again, like I said, there is narrow AI, which refers to a very specific or a very focused kind of an AI, and it is limited to a very specific range of tasks. These are like understanding facial recognition, the voice, understanding voice, and language translation. So these are trained to do only a few things and nothing beyond that. Example like that is things like Alexa. Do we use Alexa, Siri, all of us? So that's an example of narrow AI. General AI, or a stronger form of AI, is where the AI has capacity to do much more and understand much more, learn and perform intellectual tasks as what humans would do. There's still a lot of work which is going on that. It hasn't reached the stage where it would actually replicate a human, but that's exactly where it is right now. And then you have super intelligent AI, which goes beyond human intelligence. And that can outperform humans in all areas, including intelligence, creativity, problem solving, decision making. And again, this is still in research, but then these are the kinds of AI which exist or on which work is going on right now. Next slide, please. So what is AI in cybersecurity? AI in cybersecurity is where all do you apply AI today? Where all can you use AI to help in the day-to-day cybersecurity tasks and improve on them? So AI and ML is currently being used to enhance the detection, prevention, and response to cyber threats. Now, in terms of threat detection, there are AI algorithms which can learn the baseline behavior of how the threat vectors behave, how are attacks happening earlier, and after understanding that, then how do you secure your systems against that? When abnormal activities are detected, unusual network traffic login patterns, the AI flags them as potential threats, and then it kind of saves it. It is also used in predictive analysis by analyzing historical data to perfect future cyber threats and helping organizations preemptively address the vulnerabilities. There are AI-based or AI-powered playbooks which have been now generated by analyzing the previous responses to similar incidents, and that typically cybersecurity teams can use and rely on in case there is an attack which happens. In terms of malware detection, AI can detect sophisticated malware that traditional signature-based antivirus solutions may miss. There was a talk about how things have evolved from earlier in the past years when there was nothing in terms of no computers, and then we had antiviruses, and then there were mobiles, and now it has come to a stage that the common malware or antivirus detection software are not able to detect. Why they are not able to detect? It's not only because the entire threat landscape is constantly changing, it's also because of the tools and techniques which the cyber criminals are using these days to attack systems. I was standing here last year, and that time I had talked about quantum computing. So that's something which, again, the data currently which has been encrypted has largely been encrypted in bits. And the cyber criminals are using qubits to decrypt that using quantum computing, and it becomes far more effective for them to attack and breach systems. So AI therefore comes in over here, and now that you're using the AI tools against such attacks, the game becomes very good because now it's AI against AI. So there are reports which I will be sharing in my future slides which talk about how significantly now attacks are being stopped and thwarted because of use of AI in cybersecurity. Next slide, please. So what is generative AI? AI basically imitates human behavior by using machine learning to interact with the environment and execute tasks without explicit directions on what to output. Generative AI creates original content that has been built into chat applications, and generative AI applications take in natural language input and return appropriate responses in variety of forms. How many of us are using ChatGPT on a daily basis? That's an example of your generative AI. Yeah. So you tell ChatGPT, this is what I want in a very natural language form, and then it gives you a result. It's been increasingly adopted. My own children use it very often now for their day-to-day tasks. I've seen school students, college students do all of this. It's not just about very basic tasks. It's also about image creation. You can get a lot of images through this AI, and also for code generation. How many people are here into IT courses, code generation? How many people? Yeah, and you are using that to create code. How successful are you in that? So let me tell you, while it does help you, but at the same point of time, you also need to. There is a human element required to see what kind of output you get. I talked about my children using this. One of the things they did was they wanted to see if they can create their own version of the Tetris game, and they put it inside. And by the way, it gave the entire code for Tetris, and then they kind of even changed certain characters and certain challenges, and so that's how it is being used. So that's generative AI for you. Next slide, please. So behind all of this are large learning models. Large learning models are advanced artificial intelligence model trained on vast amounts of textual data to understand, generate, and manipulate human language. These models built on deep learning architectures are transformers, and they can perform a wide variety of natural language tasks with high accuracy thanks to their scale in terms of parameters and the training data. Applications of LLMs include text generation, language translation, summarization. I remember when I was in school, we were given large paragraphs or entire story to read, and then our teacher would say, please do a précis or a summary of that. And it was a huge task. Now it gets done in seconds thanks to all these large learning models. Question answering. LLMs can understand, respond to complex questions by processing and retrieving relevant information from their training data. And like I said, for even code generation. Next slide, please. So to understand the role of AI in cybersecurity, with cyber attacks becoming more sophisticated, there is a need for AI-powered solutions to detect, analyze, and respond to threats in real time. AI is being used to develop tools for malware detection, fraud prevention, behavioral analysis, network security, and this in turn creates the demand for AI specialists in cybersecurity, including roles like AI cybersecurity engineers and analysts. In terms of demand for cybersecurity automation, automating routine cybersecurity tasks using AI and machine learning reduces the workload. Now, I can tell you, we at EC Council, we are the creators of the Certified Ethical Hacker. Now, that's a program which we created way back in 2001. One of the things which is used within ethical hacking is that you look at what all vulnerabilities do you go and look for in the system. And there is a repository which you then use to check for all of those anomalies. Now, that takes days, if not months, to do that task. Using AI, that has been reduced to seconds. Not only that, what has happened now is, because there is machine learning and it's happening in real time, all the new vulnerabilities and new threat, they also get added to that repository. So when AI is checking, it's not just checking for what was the old repository and in the old threats, but now also what's happening in real time. And that, therefore, then reduces the entire the risk from new attacks. There is a huge shortage of cybersecurity talent. There's a global shortage. It's almost around 3.5 million people are required at an entry level in cybersecurity. AI is seen as a solution to fill that gaps. Now, that doesn't mean that AI is going to take away your jobs. And this is a question which I get asked everywhere, wherever I go and I'm talking. I say, AI is coming. Does that mean our jobs are going? And I was having a similar conversation during lunch with someone. We all know what happened in the Industrial Revolution. There were people using bullock carts. There were no motor cars. There were no factories. All of a sudden, we have factories. We have processes. There is a entire process of start to end, which has been made and perfected over the years. What happened after that? Did the jobs go? Everybody started using mechanized solutions to perform tasks, and there were new jobs which got created. Next was the computer revolution. So when computers came in, everybody said, I don't want to touch this machine. I don't want to use it. But what happened? With the advent of computers, processes became simpler, computing became faster, mundane or tasks which required reading and writing, they got better, and there were newer jobs which got created for everyone. When mobile came in, everybody said, now what do we do? And the same story happened with cloud came in. They said, my data is going on cloud, everybody's going to take it. Now, sitting here, I can access all my data wherever I go in the world, and I can still function. It was not possible before cloud technology. So, same is the case with AI. With AI coming in, it's not that the jobs are going to go away. There are jobs which are going to be in multiples. Multiple more jobs are going to get created, and you don't even know what kind of jobs or careers you would be getting into once AI comes in. So I see it as a huge opportunity which everybody should be embracing rather than being afraid of as to what will happen when AI comes in. Next slide, please. So these are certain facts and figures which I have, and I'm not going to talk much about it, but by 2025, it's expected that AI in cybersecurity market alone will reach around 38.2 billion, and this is by Markets and Markets Report, and over 50% organization consider AI in cybersecurity to be a serious game changer, and therefore, while everybody is questioning, is this something which I should be dabbling in or not? More and more organizations are adopting it, and the sooner we adopt it and embrace it, the better. Next slide, please. Some more data, and again, there is this IBM report, which again says that around 90% of attacks were thwarted when AI was being used. Again, some more data, 70% of all, or 70% respondents said AI is the most needed skill. So tomorrow when you're going in for your jobs, if you have this on your resume that you have been trained on AI, it's an added benefit for you. I talked about how many days, so 212 days to few minutes is what it takes to extract and analyze data. And that's what AI is being used for in cybersecurity today, to detect and respond to attacks. Next slide, please. In terms of benefits, all of these are huge benefits to enhance threat detection, real-time analysis, which AI provides through the capability of real-time threat detection response, helping to stop attacks before they can cause significant damage. In terms of response, AI can automate routine security tasks and incident response, reducing the workload on security teams and increasing overall efficiency. It also has predictive capabilities by predicting potential threats, analyzing historical data, and identifying emerging patterns. And all of this allows for productive measures to address vulnerabilities. And in terms of false positives, and I want to talk more about false positives, so there is also the other side to AI. If wrong data is fed into AI, then that creates false positives, and then it can work adversely also. It may then throw out information which is not desired. While that is happening, but AI is also being used to improve the accuracy of threat detection and reduce the number of false positives. Next slide, please. So, in false positives, AI systems sometimes produce too many false positives, which can overwhelm the cybersecurity teams. Hackers can also use AI to exploit systems to generate adversarial inputs that trick AI models into making incorrect decisions, like evading detection. And AI in cybersecurity often requires vast amount of data, raising concerns about how this data is stored and how this data is used. Next slide, please. In terms of usages, these are all, AI is being used extensively across industries. I was looking at a documentary on CNN which mentioned how AI is now being used in detecting diseases and problems which even very efficient CT scans cannot do. So while a scan is happening, AI can go in and detect anomalies and abnormalities which the human mind cannot. So that's one of the examples in healthcare. Another example I can refer to is in transportation. I am personally privy to one of the organizations called Netrodyne, where a friend of mine is working on how to use AI in reducing the number of accidents which happen on the road, which truck drivers do. So they've put in cameras, they've put in systems within the trucks, and they know what are the kind of errors the truck drivers make. So even before any such accident happens, the AI alerts the driver, and they are mitigating and reducing a lot of accidents on roads. So again, some of the examples. So that's what I was trying to tell you earlier, that AI is not taking away jobs. AI is creating much more opportunities right now, kind of things which you don't even know about, and that's what one should be looking forward to. Next slide, please. I know he's standing in front of me trying to tell me my time is up, is it? So I'm just going to wind up. These are the job roles, and I will not go into all of them one by one, but these are the kind of job roles which one can look for in cybersecurity. Next slide, please. In terms of future trends, there is AI and quantum computing. With the rise of quantum computing, I talked about it earlier. AI will play a crucial role in mitigating new cryptographic threats. And again, it's a mix of using quantum computing and AI to reduce those, because this is currently being used by cyber criminals anyhow. In terms of privacy enhancements, AI will help balance security and privacy with models that protect user data without exposing sensitive information. And there are collaborative AI models now which are being made, where different models work together and to provide a far more effective and stronger solution. By 2025, Gartner predicts that 60% of organizations will rely on AI for their cybersecurity tasks, which is up from 20% just a few years back, which is 2 years back. Thank you. The last slide, please. So, in conclusion, AI is a game changer. The integration of AI in cybersecurity is very, very essential to manage the complexity, the volume, and the ever changing threat landscape. In terms of development, while AI has proven highly effective, challenges such as adversarial AI, false positives, will need to have continued focus. And organizations should adopt AI-driven tools to enhance their cybersecurity posture while addressing the potential risks with AI misuse. All I'm trying to summarize over here is AI is here to stay. Either we embrace it and grow as it is going to grow anyhow, or we get left behind. Thank you very much. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to take them. Thank you so much. And thank you for your questions. I'll answer your second one first. Okay, and I think you're referring to the CPENT exam, and it's a 24-hour exam. It is there. It is for that long because it's a very specialized course, and this is something which enables you to become a pen tester and to get into systems and ethically look at the vulnerabilities and how to block them. And it's a very, very specialized role. Imagine you get the certificate and you don't know actually how to do it. It's the rigor which brings you there. So that exam is designed that you go through all that rigor, and then and it is one of the, it's like the Mercedes, or it's one of the exams which you aspire for to clear, because you really have to be very, very good at that to clear that exam. The pass percentage is very low of people who attempt that, but that's the kind of rigor which is required. Otherwise, you have the cyber criminals anyhow who are there to attack and get into systems. So the pen tester has to be equally, if not better, off than them. So that's why that rigor is there in that exam. About the discounts, that's the purpose of me being here. I was here last year also. We are trying to create a system wherein we work with universities, get the programs at a university rate. I will not like to call it a discount or a subsidized one. And if you look at it, we just launched a program on AI within CEH, We are currently offering it at the previous rates only. They are not the new rates. So if anybody wants to do it, they can grab the opportunity now before the new CI rates, the CH rates come in. But to answer your question, yes, there is a possibility, and that's where, and since morning everybody's talking about the how universities, government, academia, government and industry should work together. That's what we are attempting to achieve out of this conference. And if it does, then what you are asking for will become a reality. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Let's appreciate Sanjeev. Thank you for that. I absolutely agree with Sanjeev when he says that AI is here to stay. And I agree with you when you talk about that for the organizations that have fully embraced AI, they're actually increasing the human resource in the companies. I was talking to one insurance company, and the CIO was telling me that he's seen people in his organization, someone who has been working probably for the last 20 years. He's been a pension claims expert, goes back to school, reinvents himself, comes and joins the innovation team. So definitely it's not replacing people, but actually we are having even more people joining those organizations with the various examples that is given there. So thank you for that, Sanjeev. We absolutely appreciate you. Just want to give a bit of guidance to our next speakers. We want to allocate at most 10 minutes to every speaker. So if you can be able to work within that particular window so that we try and make sure that we can accommodate all the speakers who are here, we will highly appreciate it. Thank you very much for that. Our next speaker is going to guide us on data protection, localization, and data autonomy. To guide us on this particular conversation is a man who goes by this mantra: I am your privacy and tech law enthusiast extraordinaire. He is the Chief Privacy Officer and Director at Africa's premier Data Privacy Hub, DPO 360. Ladies and gentlemen, help me appreciate with a warm round of applause, Mr. Philip Kisaka, as he comes forward. We're glad to have you here, Philip. Thank you very much. And to our speakers, I am your walking timer. When you see me there, we will work together. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that introduction. Being put on the spotlight to do 10 minutes. When I was rehearsing for this presentation when I was home, and I was casually strolling through my living room, I did 18 minutes. So I will really try to keep time. As you heard, my name is Philip Kisaka. I've been in the data protection space for as long as I can remember. I'm not very old, still very young. This is in the category of what we call zillennials. And I practice specifically around things to do with data protection, privacy, and legal systems. And one of the key things, or my core missions, is to help Africa bring back or return its digital control of its digital future within the continent. And today we'll be discussing on a topic that is very dear, again, to me, on data protection, autonomy, and localization. So just looking across the room, clap once if you were 18 years and above in 2019. Okay, clap once if you were not 18 years in 2019. For those who are over 18 and over in 2019, clap once if you registered for the Huduma number. Clap once if you did not register for the Huduma number. Okay, it's very challenging to, if we had that meter that can be able to detect sound, we'll be able to know the statistics. But you'll notice that one of the main reasons that people did not register for the Huduma number is a lack of trust in government, right? That we do not trust that the government is able to secure our data, that our government is able to protect our data in a very efficient way. But my big question today then is, who controls Africa's data? Do you control your data? Who controls Africa's data? This is a big question because much as we do not trust that the government is able to secure or protect our data is not necessarily controlled by our governments or us as individuals. Our data is controlled by the big technology companies, right? Am I right on that? The likes of Facebook, the likes of Facebook is Meta, the likes of Amazon, the likes of Azure Cloud, Google, and all these platforms are essentially the ones who control most of Africa's data. And you look at the digital revolution in Africa, one of the best examples is M-Pesa, and the way M-Pesa has revolutionized how we transact in Kenya, how transactions are able to happen in real time, and even in the introduction of the M-Pesa app, you will notice that Africa is at the forefront of this digital transformation, and Kenya has not been left behind. In fact, Kenya, maybe second to South Africa, has really advanced in this space. So then what is data localization, you may ask? Data localization is simply us saying that there are certain types of data that have to be processed within the borders of a country. There are certain types of data that have to be processed within the borders of a country. And in Kenya, this has been presented to us very clearly in the Data Protection Act. This was enacted in 2019. And this act has brought out the requirement for data localization. NC4 was here and they presented the Computer Misuse and Cybercrimes Act. And in that act, there are specific types of Kenyans' data that have to be processed within the country. And the first one is every civil registry. So we are talking about death, we are talking about birth registry, marriage registry, and any other civil registry you think about has to process or has to have at least one copy of a digital server within the borders of the country. The next one is on elections and representation. All of us know the thing of kufungua server. If you're Kenyan, you know that. If you're Kenyan and you don't know that, then are you really Kenyan? And what the Data Protection Act is saying that anytime there is data being processed and it is with regard to elections or representation, then at least one copy of that storage or one copy of that server has to be within the confines of the country. We're also talking about public finance management. How many of you have heard of IFMIS? IFMIS? Those ones who've tendered with government, you understand what IFMIS is. That one copy, whenever you are producing or processing public finance management data, has to be processed within the country. We also have protected computer systems, and in the protected computer systems under the Cybercrimes and Computer Misuse and Cybercrimes Act, we have things like e-citizen, we have things that speak to security, we have things that like the IFMIS I've talked about. All these are protected systems, and data processed within those systems has to have at least one copy being housed locally. We also talk about health data, we talk about basic education data, as also data. And we talk about basic education, most of us know about KUCCPS, you're at a university, right? KUCCPS, is it still KU CUSPS, right? The placement service for university placements. All this data from primary to secondary to junior secondary right now have to have at least one copy within the country, or, have to be processed within the country or have at least one copy within the country. Then we'll ask ourselves the question, what is data autonomy? Being autonomous. Autonomy means, in the context of data, simply means being able to make decisions on how we collect, how we store, how we share, how we commercialize the data that is generated by Africa. Now, we cannot talk about data autonomy in the context of Kenya alone. We've talked about localization, and we've talked about certain types of data that have to be localized. But when you talk about autonomy, we have to talk about it in the context of the larger African continent. That are we able to control the data that we generate as Africans? And you will hear this over and over again, that data is a new gold. But my question to you is, who is mining Africa's data? You're supposed to laugh, that was a joke. I rehearsed. Okay, thank you. Global powers versus African autonomy. I've just talked about who controls our data. And we are all in agreement that the likes of Google, AWS, the likes of Facebook, the likes of all these digital social media platforms indeed hold more data than even our governments. And therefore, because these global powers, in quotes, because they are just tech giants, indeed control more data than even our governments. And so we need to chart a way forward. How do we do this? We need to identify the challenges of having these global tech giants being in control of our data. And the first and main one is infrastructure barriers. You'll realize that it is very expensive to build, construct, and maintain a physical server, and therefore it will need a lot of multi-stakeholder engagement, including collaboration across countries to be able to get through these infrastructure barrier challenges. We also need to deal with this thing of global tech influence. Recently, there was a case in court where Facebook has really been trying to say why they cannot be sued in Kenya because they're not a Kenyan company and they're just offering their services in Kenya as a global company. And this was due to that, or this is due to their global tech influence. And because of this, you'll find that a lot of Kenyan or a lot of Africa's data ends up in foreign nations. And then finally, we also have regulatory frameworks, and I think every speaker or most speakers who have also come here before me have talked about there not being a problem with the laws. We have enough laws. The problem is the loopholes in the laws, and then number two, the African problem is that we have duplicated laws that do not easily integrate into each other. And it's very important for us as Africans to have the conversation around how do we collaborate for a solution? How do we ensure that we are having one data protection law that speaks across each African country? Of course, you have the Malabo Convention that has been ratified by a number of African countries, but there's still nuanced issues such as cross-border transfer of data within our African space. How do we address that in one single codified law? We also talk about issues in investing in infrastructure. Construction of servers is very expensive, and therefore it also needs a collaboration between or among African countries to be able to present or to be able to develop these facilities. And finally, as the theme of this conference on the cyber security workspace is on talent development. How are we able to develop talent that is responsive to be able to know how to be admins in this maybe cloud storage systems that we develop as Africans? Are we able to have talent that is able to manage what we also develop as Africans? And so the onus is on the likes of the university and the research departments to be able to develop responsive talent with this regard. And so my question is, Africa, what next? You will notice that data is the new gold, as we have said. We have tried to identify who is mining Africa's data. Of course, it's not us as Africans. It's foreign nations, foreign tech giants, not necessarily governments. And therefore, there's some element of power in data. And therefore, in this digital world, data is power. And the future belongs to those who can control it. As Africans, we need to rise. We need to have these open discussions and figure out how are we going to participate in our digital future as Africans. Thank you very much. That was not the normal speed I was supposed to do the presentation in, but I will allow any question if there is any, because my time is not yet up. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your question. I think just to answer your question in a one go, first of all, the Data Protection Act has provided for that transition, and therefore that's why it says that at least one copy has to be kept locally. And we witnessed this issue when we were having the election petitions and the whole thing about opening servers. At having everything absolutely out of the country limits what we are able to do as a country in terms of even investigations or prosecution. So the first thing is that this has to be transitioned very slowly and very skillfully. Of course, right now, a lot of our data is on the likes of Azure, AWS, Google, and all that. So it has to be a very slow transition. But secondly, as I've talked about talent development, we need to also have that talent in-house, because it beats logic to have us want to develop such solutions locally, but then we also still have to import this talent. And it's counterproductive. It doesn't make sense. So it all begins with a conversation around, one, talent development. Are we generating enough talent? And number two, on the legislative frameworks, are we able to speak as one African continent? It's very hard to achieve autonomy as a single country, especially from the African context. But if we speak as one, as the African continent, you'll realize that you can have one huge cloud storage or physical storage server in the southern region of the African continent, one in the eastern region, one in the northern, and then countries are able to share, and then you're able to transact data seamlessly across borders. So two things, legislative frameworks or legal frameworks, and number two, on talent development. One more. In the spirit of gender sensitivity. Yeah. Please speak up.
Environment.
Okay. In terms of the evolution of zero trust, first of all, not very familiar having interacted with it so much. But as more solutions move to the cloud, then we have to, first of all, develop infrastructure locally. The very first thing, and the whole essence of the presentation, is having local infrastructure within the African continent. Then that will now start addressing some issues within the context of zero trust, because I think we attain or we get to that point of zero trust simply because these are not solutions by Africans, these are not African solutions, and therefore we need to return this control back to Africans. And then I think probably it will take a different trajectory once we've now gotten the conversation from these are cloud solutions that are provided by foreign entities. They are cloud solutions that are provided by entities within the African continent for Africans. Then that conversation will now proceed from there. Thank you so much. That was my time.
Thank you, Mr. Kisaka, for being quite the fine gentleman, and we appreciate you. Thank you for your insight. Hand on heart, we appreciate you for that. And even one of the things that when I was listening to Kisaka and also listening to Sanjeev, and definitely appreciating when you're saying developing the talent, there's a logarithm definitely when it comes to AI. Like if I search for something on Google and I go to Facebook, if I'm searching for a watch, I go to Facebook, a watch pops up. I go to Instagram, it pops up. There's a science, there's a logarithm on my search. So you can be able to tell my character by looking at my Instagram page. You'll tell the kind of person that I am. But now, how come when I apply for 100 jobs, I don't get hired? There's no one in HR who will sit down and look at 500 applications, isn't it? It's AI that will sift it to 20. So hopefully we can be able to get to learn about what is the terms that I need to put in. Is it on the title? Is it on the header? Most importantly for the young people that are here, so that when it comes to applying, maybe Mutheo will touch on that, I'm not sure, but we get to know how do we do it? How many of us here have applied for 100 jobs and they fail? I didn't get applied. I didn't get called. Is that organization stingy? It's AI that sifted you out. Probably it's a conversation that we can be able to have. Fantastic. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Please give a high five to the person seated next to you and tell them, get into the algorithm. Get into the algorithm. We want to get to our next speaker before we also get into a panel discussion. At this particular point in time, we want to have a conversation on the smart government, cyber security, and AI. To guide us on this particular conversation, ladies and gentlemen, is a director, smart government. Please help me appreciate the one who has been seasoned enough to come and guide us on this particular conversation. He is definitely the hammer that is going to hit the nail on this topic. Please help me appreciate Mr. Gilbert Matura as he comes forward, Director, Smart Government. Welcome, Mr. Matura. Glad to have you here.
Thank you very much. First of all, is to introduce myself. My name is Gilbert Matura. I am the Director for Smart Government Department. Department fairly new, established under the Office of Chief of Staff and Head of Public Service, the Executive Office of the President. And I'm here to give you a brief on what smart government has been able to do, or rather is doing, in terms of bringing the services to the people, aiding in cybersecurity, and also adoption and implementation of artificial intelligence. So I will take you through a very brief history or evolution of digital transformation in the country. And as you all know, in the year 2003, there was the introduction of the e-government strategy that laid the ground for digitization of government services and established the e-government directorate. You are aware of the M-Pesa launch in 2007 that has revolutionized the financial inclusion in the entire country. You are also aware of the 2010 implementation of the IFMIS system that enhanced efficiency in public financial management. And in 2013, the development of the National ICT Master Plan that was established in 2013. Then in 2017, there was a launch of the Digital Literacy Program, introduction of the Huduma number in 2018. In 2022, the government unveiled the National Digital Master Plan 2022-2032. And now in 2023, we have established the Smart Government Department under the presidency, whose mandate now is to offer support in coordination of digital transformation efforts across the country. And therefore, very briefly, because I want to take my 10 minutes, what is this we call smart government? We have 4 core functions, and greater of them all is to offer a platform as the Office of Chief of Staff and Head of Public Service for consultation, for collaboration, and for digital transformation and partnership. We call on board all actors on the digital technology platform to come on the table and to discuss on how to advance the digital transformation forward. As you're all aware, somewhere last year, the President gave a directive that we digitize all government records. And that is to pave way for a paperless government. And he has shown his commitment by leading the way and leading a digital or paperless cabinet. That in itself caused some confusion because every government entity went about to do their small bit of digitization. And therefore, people were developing small systems that were not speaking to each other, that do not conform to the laid down standards. And so there was some sort of helter-skelter. And therefore, the need for all state agencies to come on board on the table so that we can have consultation, we can collaborate, and we can partner to drive the agenda forward. Another thing is acceleration of government service automation. You know, technology keeps on changing, and therefore there's need for government to speed up implementation of initiatives so that as technology changes, we do not invest more when that technology becomes obsolete. Continuous improvement and modernization of smart government services. This is currently in collaboration with the Ministry of ICT, ICTA, CONSA. We are doing an analysis to understand the digital landscape of the country, to understand all the systems that have been developed, when they were developed, the reasons or functionalities for which they were developed, so that we do not duplicate these systems. And therefore, we are doing continuous improvement. If there are systems that are using technologies that are obsolete, we improve them and modernize so that we can be able to give services to the people. Design standards and governance, review of existing standards so that all systems or digital platforms that are developed conform to the laid down standards. That is a brief on what smart government is helping government to do. And therefore, government, we have embarked on digitizing of government records. And this poses many challenges. One of them is on cybersecurity. When we digitize government records, it means there are a lot of information, and especially for government. And for government, we hold very sensitive information that require to be protected. Therefore, we need to have an elaborate framework to protect that information, because the information we hold is in trust for the people. This is information for the people, and therefore we need to employ security measures in order to do that. But most importantly, the government has done a lot in terms of infrastructure. And you know, you have had many government officials, private sector, because we're in partnership with them, speaking about the infrastructure that the government is putting in place, the 100,000 kilometers of fiber optic, the digital hubs, the Wi-Fi hotspots, the digital skilling, and I'm glad the Kenya School of Government is here. And all this is going on in preparation so that the government can be able to integrate digital technologies artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, and all other emerging technologies so that we can give better service to the people. And therefore, what is important for us is to partner with critical stakeholders in every of those areas, do the infrastructure, give skills to the public workforce and even to the citizens so that they can be able to adopt the technologies that we are going to implement as government. And therefore, there is need for collaboration among stakeholders. That is why in digital skilling, Kenya School of Government is leading the way in partnership with Ministry of ICT, and other development partners to develop a curriculum to train and upskill both the public workforce and also the citizens. There are several challenges, and I know my previous speakers have spoken about them. And one of them is on upskilling. That one has been, I have said that already. But then there is a fear on the use of artificial intelligence and loss of information through cybersecurity. That is why we need to partner with government, as government with development partners, with academia and the private sector to bring about training, awareness among the public service and also the people so that we can make them able to adopt and use those emerging technologies. We have cybersecurity policies in place. Important to note that we have the National Cybersecurity Strategy 2022-2027, the Computer Misuse and Cybercrimes Act of 2018, Data Protection Act of 2019, and Kenya Information and Communication Act of, that is the KICA. There is no policy on artificial intelligence already adopted by Kenya, but we are working very closely with other development partners, the Ministry of ICT, Smart Government, Estonia, GIZ, European Union, UNDP, to develop a national AI strategy that will help to govern on the use of AI and also as we balance, of course, between protecting our citizens and promoting private sector innovation. I think that is what I have to present in that short time. Unless maybe I can have a question. Yeah, there's a question.
of Meru University under the Kenya University Student Organization, that's KUSO. I have two concerns as a graduate of cybersecurity. One on the data privacy and also on the government, smart government. There is the trust issue, more so for students. I'll speak on behalf of the students because more so those doing cybersecurity and data privacy. One, in getting the attachments and also getting the internships. Because you know how data, the information is power, and we are being taught this mainly theoretically. But the practical side, maybe when you go to government agencies or in the corporate world, there is that mistrust for you to be given, for you to do the practical part of it. Now, on that, I would really wish to know how we are going to deal with this, more so on the speaker who came before you on the data privacy, and also on the government, smart government. I think when we are moving to the cyberspace or to the digital world, it's now upon the government to ensure that even during the application of job, it should not be a traditional way. Most of us are aware of what happened like 2 weeks ago when most of the Kenyan youths were applying for a job and the line was queued over 2,000 youths doing the application. When we are moving to the digital side, we should embrace the digital way, the cyber way, so that we do the application online. Thank you.
Maybe one last one.
How can government AI-powered surveillance for security purposes with potential risk of infringing on personal privacy and civil liabilities, where AI can be used to monitor and predict behavior?
Thank you very much. I think maybe to start with the first question, and it was a concern about online application of jobs. And I want to say we are adopting technology in the way we work as government. Currently, we have started digitization of all government records. And for your information, it's going to be piloted in the executive office of the president. Then it will be rolled out to the entire government. And that is one step because we want to implement one unified digital system for government. But then if there are departments that have already adopted systems that conform to the laid down procedures and frameworks, they are good to go. But for those who have not, that is the way to go. And therefore, that means that going forward, probably, adoption of technology is not an event, it's a process. And we need to take people through, we need to take the right technology, apply the right technology, we need to get their processes right. And so that is what we are doing right now. And therefore, I believe that is where we are going. And with the consultation and collaboration of all stakeholders, I believe that is something we need to take into consideration. And on the second question, it's on data protection. We have policies on data protection, like I had said, and they protect on the use of data and also access, who needs to access that data and how that data is going to be utilized. And therefore, I think with the laid down policies and legal frameworks, that is going to be taken care of. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Director. Please let's appreciate Mr. Gilbert Matura, Director, Smart Government. I am confident that the government, the public sector is also very, very keen in the collaboration, and we are hopeful also that we shall continue partnering with them. I saw a Tier 3 ISP partnering with Kenya Pipeline Corporation to leverage for their fiber network from Mombasa all the way to Nairobi. Those are the collaborations that we are confident that even when it comes to AI, the government will be able to be part and parcel of that. At this particular point in time, we want to go to the next speaker who is going to guide us on growing innovation systems in Africa. Application of Israel's model. Let's get to hear from how the model is happening in Israel, and then probably we can be able to adapt the same. To guide us on this, ladies and gentlemen, he is the CEO, Israel Innovation Institute. Please help me appreciate Mr. Jonathan Manuhin as he comes forward. Glad to have you here, Jonathan. Welcome once again. One, two, great. As we sort this out, we want, please, if we can all rise to our feet. We've been seated for quite a while. If we can rise to our feet. Let's just rise to our feet. Thank you very much. Nice. Okay. This is AI to the entire world. We want to make sure that everyone is catching up on the same. Okay, just put up your hands up like this and wiggle your fingers. It's like you're calling for more business, more partnership, all right? And then I want you to pump up your hands like this. And then you can slightly just move the waist slightly a bit. Okay. Now I want you to stretch your left hand forward. Stretch your right hand, take it to the shoulder, take it to the shoulder, take it to the waist, take it to the waist, and then turn to your right side. Now we are all facing this side. All right, fantastic. Because we want this conversation to go to the entire world, so we're going at 360. Stretch your left, your right, to the shoulder, to the shoulder, to the waist, another right turn. We're all facing at the back, all right? Stretch your left, the right, to the shoulder, to the shoulder, to the waist, another right turn, and finally stretch your right, left, the right, to the shoulder, to the shoulder, to the waist, another turn. As we usually say, ladies and gentlemen, this is best done with what? With music. Mr. Director, please give us that song. Right, put your hands up there. Wiggle those fingers. Nice. To success and us being the pace setters when it comes to cybersecurity. Pump it up. Pump it up. Pump your hands. Pump it up. 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 Right, let's go to the left, the right, the shoulder to the waist, and turn to Kisonga to the left, the right, the shoulder to the waist, and turn to the body to the left, the right, the shoulder to the waist, and turn equally to the left, the right, the shoulder to the the waist, and turn one more time to the left, the right, the shoulder to the waist, and turn to Kisonga to the left, the right, the shoulder to the waist, and turn Ikonini to the left, the right, the shoulder to the waist, and turn Ikonini to the left, the right, the shoulder to the waist, and turn, hold it there, point your shoe to the sky, 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 point your shoe to the sky, your shoe to the sky, your shoe to the sky, point your shoe to the sky. Thank you, Mr. Director. Please give a high five to the person sitting next to you. Tell them I'm a better dancer than you. You know, by the way people are dancing, you can tell the road, just by the way they are moving. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, we're going into growing innovation ecosystems in Africa and application of Israel model. Dr. Jonathan Manuhin, please let's appreciate him one more time with a round of applause. Go for it, Jonathan. We're looking forward to learning from you. Thank you.
Catalyst is our TTO office, so let's not discuss it. Desert Tech for desert-related technology, Planet Tech for climate issues, and Aquacaltech for aquaculture. In total, our organization facilitates 35% of the Israeli startup scene. So when you think of Israel, you can think about security, defense, advertising, but actually Israel is an impact nation in that sense, and we are quite happy to make this happen. So as an NGO, we have very simple proposition, very simple target. First, promoting technologies in the areas of global challenges. And the second is implement those technologies in Israel. Why implementation? Because it's lead to a better solution. In the moment that the entrepreneur understand the processes and the problem of the industry, then they have better product, they will be more successful, make money, more people come, we try to solve better the problem of the world. So it's better for the world, better for Israelis, and better for the entrepreneur. So this is the challenges that we are working, and we had, 2 years ago, we had a discussion. Should AI will be a community by itself, or AI is part of each innovation communities? Because in all of those sectors, we see AI companies. But AI, it's a different thing. It's first is part of the sector, and it's totally different because it's a technology that changes everything. So in the end of the day, we decided we are not going to open the AI sector because we thought it's going to be too much for us to manage, but maybe we should. So I was here for a little bit more than half an hour, and I heard 3 presentations, And I really think that it's wonderful. The thing that I heard, all the thing that happened right now in Kenya, it's fascinating. So looking at the ecosystem, there are so many people, there are so many institutions that do marvelous things together. But the problem is that there is a lacking of a coordination mechanism. There is a lacking, I don't know about Canada, I'm not about Kenya, I'm talking about Israel. But I suspect, and there is no one that actually look what are the barriers, what are the problems that prevent the ecosystem to grow. This is the thing that we are doing. Each of our communities is looking at the ecosystem, of the innovation ecosystem. Our first, and we are looking at the startup, to grow the startup, but we are discussing with all the stakeholders that are relevant and asking how we can make a difference. The thing that I'm going to show you today is our model, our methodology. We have one methodology, but each community is operating differently according to the needs of the ecosystem. So let's see how we're doing it. In our model, there are 5 pillars. Each one of them, they have a lot of tools and processes that need to develop. And by the way, in the end of my presentation, I will show you a link to a booklet that he wrote explaining everything that, if you're interested in my presentation, you can read it later. And in a way, as an NGO, we can't do everything. We can work on all the pillars by itself. So in the beginning of each year, I'm asking each head of sector to look what are the most urgent problems of the ecosystem and to begin to work on that. So let's begin with market education. Market education, the essence is to bring a lot of people to believe that the sector is interesting. All the person that have some knowledge or some interest or can contribute to the debate should define themselves as part of the ecosystem. So the idea is to expand the ecosystem to people that sometimes they don't think that they are part of it. And it's a sector branding. It's about telling this is the sector, how important it is to show them that a lot of people are already inside this sector, and then I see there is there is a mistake, a grammatical mistake, typo. So how we do it? Very easily. First, there's the pictures of a student of a marine biologist that we are going to explain to them. Listen, aquaculture, this is the future. Please come. We have the investor map. In the beginning, there was only 2 VCs in Israel that say that they might think that about the climate, and we work and we bring 40 VCs, and by telling them, listen, all your rivals are within our group, so you need to come and you need to understand what is climate for you and how you should invest. No. This is the beginning of the model. During the COVID pandemic, we work with all the hospitals in Israel, try to understand the needs, how they need to tackle the corona, how they need to work. A lot of, I don't know if you know that Israel succeeded quite well in the corona crisis. The Israeli health system, although it's underfunded, survived this crisis. And one of the things that actually everybody can grow technologies that are relevant to some degree to the challenges of the hospitals in Israel. And we created a map, and we worked with all the high-tech industry in Israel and showed them this is the problem, come, you can work on that. And we were the innovation officers of all the health organization in Israel in that sense. The second thing is about social capital. Social capital, it's here. It's here that you can see, you know the people, you speak with them, you a little bit begin to trust them, and hopefully you do some transaction. This is the main idea of creating social capital. So the idea is to create the condition in which strategic initiative will emerge. So how we do it? We do it in a lot of things. Next. Here you can see we meet, we just brought farmers and entrepreneur in agro-business. So they sit together and they speak about the needs and the possibility to have a joint project. We are doing conferences, we are doing courses. We are doing courses in which we bring people to speak and to talk and to work together. Access to knowledge. In the world where everybody keeps his own knowledge and all the knowledge is being managed by silos, we are the only one that say, this is important and I will tell you everything that you need to know about this topic. We had a competition last year about a nature-based solution, technologies that help nature to restore itself. We did a competition of extreme weather event, forecasting and management. We are doing courses about carbon accounting. So when we find something that is relevant to the ecosystem, we focus and we teach the ecosystem about the future of. This is the problem that we need to tackle. This is a picture of the carbon accounting project course that we have. And on the other side, this is the desert challenges. We try to bring more and more Israeli companies to understand what is desert tech and what are the needs. And we had the project here with the sub-Sahara countries of the Great Green Wall. We brought a farmer and manager of small units to identify the needs, and in our website, all the needs are explained. 70 needs of sub-Saharan countries. So, we link them with Israeli technology, but this is different thing. But to teach what is the challenge and exactly tell them. So in a way, if you don't know about, if you're an Israeli entrepreneur, he doesn't know anything about the challenges of the sub-Saharan countries, so you can come, you learn, and if you're relevant, then definitely we open for you the market. Oh. Okay, open innovation facilitation. Everybody loves innovation, but not within the unit. Open innovation is the holy grail of modern cooperation. Everybody wants to do open innovation. In most cases, open innovation fails. This is the sad story. And why? Because there is not enough knowledge within the organization how to identify the challenges and how to search for the appropriate solution and how to integrate that. On one hand, and I think that most of the cooperation doesn't understand how to search, how to navigate within the different solution that is relevant for them. We are doing that. Why? Because we know all the solution in our sectors, not in everything, but in our sectors, and we understand the process of implementing innovation. So we are working with cooperation and with startup in this matching process. And we developed different tools for big corporates, how to become more a living lab, how they can be an organization that they know how to to identify their needs and implement and do pilots in a systematic way, not in one by one, but a processual level. Here on the left, we see we train all the innovation officers of health organization in Israel. So this is type of course in which we told them about the process and our agent of change, because we now have people within all the health organization in Israel that is working for us, for them, together, and we teach them how to do the challenge identification, how to do the opportunity and solution search, how to evaluate a different type. I will finish soon. I see that you are nervous. And how to design a pilot. Okay, the last thing is about internationalization. In Israel, there is not enough money, knowledge, and connection. So this is why one of the things that we are doing is going outside in our conferences, in the EcoMotion conference of smart mobility last year, 900 people from all over the world come to look for Israeli technology. So we are working on that to bring, and we facilitate this process. Okay, and you can see huge conferences, very fine, and I hope that some of you can come and participate. And by the way, can present their own solution. It's okay, since our conferences are international, companies outside of Israel can come and present their work. Okay, this is the end of, this is all the pillars and explanation. You can have this presentation. And so in a way, we push these, we are working with all the ecosystem, but we push the Israeli startup to work faster and better. Better in the sense that they focus on the right problem, the problem of the industry, and faster because we help them to go further, to meet the investor, the client. We are working with the government about their challenges, how to work with, to change governmental policies. So we push it. And hopefully you will do it as well here in Africa in AI. If you're interested to read our methodology, it's there. This is it. Is it okay?
Please, let's appreciate Jonathan one more time. Maybe we can return the slide, the one that had the QR code. Is there anyone who didn't manage to get it, just for the purpose of more information? Or we've already moved from there? Just in case, so that now we can be able to fully appreciate the fantastic work that Dr. Jonathan Menuhin is doing in Israel, so that now we can be able to see the application that is happening there. Probably we'll be able to share it in good time. That's okay, no problem. Just a small announcement that the cybersecurity auditing masterclass that was scheduled to happen yesterday due to a technical occurrence was not able to happen, but I have been informed that the class is going to happen on Wednesday, that is tomorrow, from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. We have 12 of the 25 seats that are remaining. Okay, so there's a bit of a rush into this, and it's a very important class. We have only 12 of the 25 seats remaining. The applicable charge is 1,000 Kenya shillings, 1,500. It's tomorrow, the 25th of September, and the time is from 2 to 5 p.m. Please make sure that you can be able to register from the class. You can be able to get more information at the registration desk. Yes, I can see the QR code is here. Please feel free that you can be able to scan and appreciate the ecosystem methodology that has been shared by Dr. Jonathan. Great. We want to go to our next speaker who's going to guide us on cyber law and regulation on computing, software coding, AI, and internet use. She is a legal specialist in cybersecurity, counterterrorism, crisis management. She's a mentor. Women in Cybersecurity, Standard Chartered Bank. She's an advisory member, Africa Center for Security. And ladies and gentlemen, she's Kenya's first formally trained cybersecurity lawyer, as well as one of the first on the African continent. She always has a sense of fresh air whenever I listen to her, and she carries definitely the wisdom nuggets that will be able to carry us in this conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me appreciate Mutheu Kimulu as she comes forward. We're glad to have you here, Mutheu. Karibu sana.
Go around with Ian everywhere. Yeah, I'd feel good. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I know it's in the afternoon, but surely. See, Ian made you dance. Good afternoon. Now, I was told there's a time bar. Allow me to talk. So this afternoon, I'm going to quickly give you the elevator pitch version of cyber law and regulation on computing, AI, and the internet, and how this can shape Kenya and indeed Africa's cybersecurity future. Next slide. Obviously, as a lawyer, I have to put out a disclaimer that I have acknowledged all the images, so I don't want anybody suing me. Next slide. This afternoon, we're going to look at three main topics. The first topic is the role of government in shaping cybersecurity and the AI workforce. Then we're going to touch on the importance of cyber laws and regulations and the importance of regional and international cooperation. And finally, I'll quickly touch on cybersecurity and AI capacity building and how this aligns with our Afrocentric industry needs and our future workforce. Now, cybercrime, the world's third largest economy, and it's populated by bad actors. In fact, the World Economic Forum describes it as the dark underbelly of the digital era. And the threat continues to grow exponentially with the emergence of AI and other emerging technologies that offer humanity a lot of good. But on the converse, in the hands of nefarious actors, this substantially intensifies the cyber threat environment. This is why cyber law and regulation of the fifth domain, cyberspace, are essential for humanity, because they provide a framework for responsible and secure digital interactions. They protect individuals, businesses, and societies from cyber threats, and they ensure a safe and equitable online environment. Next slide, please. Now, there's an Interpol report that those of us in this field love to quote that came out a couple of years ago. And this Interpol report showed that Africa was losing $4 billion to cybercrime. Are you aware that that's more than the GDP of 12 African nations? And for some of these African nations, it's even double their GDP. So we're losing a lot of money. And that cost of cybercrime has grown exponentially since that report was released. However, I'm also proud to say that Africa's cybersecurity awareness has also grown. However, the speed of cybersecurity awareness across all cadres of our societies needs to be enhanced exponentially for all our nation's social, economic, and national security benefits. More recently, as at June of this year, there was a report done by Station X, And you can see on the chart, Africa has the highest pro rata incidence of cybercrime targeting businesses in the 5 global regions. And these incidents have a devastating consequence for businesses and governments, ranging from disruptions in government operations and business operations to large-scale theft of funds and the leak of sensitive national data. According to the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, the lack of preparedness against cyber threats across African countries is going to cost us up to 10% of our GDP. Do the math. That's not good. But enhanced cybersecurity national profiles, supported by cyber laws and regulations, is the solution. Next slide, please. Now, pre-AI, on the global average, a cyber attack happened every 39 seconds. You're aware of that. Now, can you imagine how fast it's happening with AI? Sanjeev told us about the speed of AI. Before, if you were attacked in January, it would be about mid-July before we detected it, and October by the time we contained it. And these are organizations with the best systems. Now imagine with AI. So AI is augmenting cybersecurity, but it's also being weaponized by the cyber criminals. Next slide. Now, that is a perfect segue to my conversation of this afternoon. Why governments have an important role in shaping cybersecurity and the AI workforce. And the first thing I want to touch on is the need for regulatory framework for AI and cybersecurity in Africa. And this is because it's our governments play a pivotal role in ensuring that our nations have robust cybersecurity, AI, and emerging technology strategies, policies, and laws, we need them to put cybersecurity center stage. In fact, in every cabinet meeting, it needs to play center stage because these frameworks are crucial for protecting national security, safeguarding our citizens and their privacy, and fostering economic growth. For example, without effective cybersecurity measures, countries will be vulnerable to cyber attacks, leading to data breaches, financial losses, and the disruptions to essential services. Similarly, AI, if not developed and regulated ethically, can perpetuate biases. Are you aware that IBM stopped issuing its facial recognition program because it was biased against people who look like me and most of you in this room? That's the danger of AI. So it has positives, but we need to ensure that it doesn't perpetuate biases against our continent and our people, and also excavate social inequalities. By establishing comprehensive strategies and policies, African governments can create a conducive environment for innovation. To attract investment, we're looking for money. Build a digital economy that benefits all citizens. Now, with everything, there are hurdles to be overcome in implementing these kind of frameworks. But there are 3 ways that governments can overcome these hurdles, and this includes investing in capacity building. I've heard some of you ask questions that you've trained. Where can you go? So we need to enhance your capacity and give you opportunities. In collaborating with regional and international partners, for example, a conference like this one, we're sharing ideas, we're interacting, we're collaborating. Or signing international conventions like the Budapest Convention, the world's most robust framework on cybercrime, which will give African nations access to much needed capacity building and information sharing mechanisms. As remember, cybercrime is a borderless crime. Governments must also invest in promoting awareness amongst the various stakeholders and all of its citizens, as the human factor is always the weakest link in over 90% of cyber attacks, which is why social engineering is the cyber criminal's best arsenal. By prioritizing cybersecurity and emerging technologies, African nations and governments must, sorry, I lost my line. Please forgive me. I'm actually here because I have passion for this conversation. If I tell you I was lying on a theater table on Friday, so forgive me if I skip some things. Let me go back. By prioritizing cybersecurity, AI, and emerging technologies, African nations can not only meet the challenges of the digital age, but also contribute to the realization of the AU Agenda 2063 for an E-Africa. And if you haven't had a look at that agenda, please look it up, especially because Kenya is now leading institutional reforms, and so it's good for us to be aware where we want to go. As a Pan-Africanist and an Afro-optimist, I must also add that African governments must prioritize the development of robust cybersecurity, AI, and emerging technology strategies to protect our African nations from the exploitation of our data. You heard Philip talking about the exploitation of our data by the more advanced nations. Without these safeguards, African countries risk becoming vulnerable to data breaches, surveillance, and the misuse of AI for harmful purposes. The strategic governance of Afrocentric data is essential to ensure that AI projects are developed ethically and responsibly, benefiting our local African communities rather than just serving the interests of foreign corporations. The race to dominate AI has led to a desperate hunt for large data sets. And without strong laws and regulations, African nations could see their valuable data exploited for commercial gain, undermining their economic and social development. This is why I'm proud that Kenya chaired the UNESCO committee that gave the world the first global recommendation on the ethical use of AI. And so, but without the laws, we're in problems. So we need to sort that out. Next slide. Now, I want to have a quick look at the key cybercentric frameworks any nation should have in place, be you in Africa or anywhere on the global stage. And this is because cybersecurity is a multifaceted field, which involves safeguarding digital assets from unauthorized access, use, disclosure, disruption, modification, or destruction. To this end, to protect critical infrastructure, national security, and the social economic well-being of their citizens, African nations require comprehensive cybersecurity frameworks. And these frameworks must encompass some key elements, including developing the seven that I've listed on this screen. You need a cybersecurity framework. You need a cybersecurity strategy, a resilience strategy, a national incident response plan, an AI and emerging technology framework, and software coding policies. And these need to be continuously reviewed to adapt to the fast evolving digital landscape, which also enhances the threats that are coming our way. Now let's quickly look at what each of these cover. But before I do that, we talked about the cost of cybercrime. Let's talk how much the digital economy is bringing to Africa. By next year, it's predicted that the digital economy is going to add $180 billion to the continent's overall economy. And it's going to increase to $712 billion US dollars by 2050. So there's money coming in, but just as fast, cybercrime is growing. And so this is going to threaten our African economies and also our citizens. And this is more reason why African nations need national cybersecurity frameworks, because these provide a structured approach to managing national cybersecurity risks by offering adaptable guidelines and best practices that serve as a roadmap for implementing the national cybersecurity strategy. Now, the national cybersecurity strategy is a comprehensive plan to protect the nation's critical infrastructure and the national security from cyber threats to keep us all safe. But this needs to be a living document that can be amended as new threats emerge. Now, apart from your cybersecurity strategy, nations also need cyber resilience strategies to ensure their critical infrastructure and national security are protected against cyber threats. Because while the cybersecurity strategy focuses on preventing and mitigating cyber attacks, the resilience strategy emphasizes the ability to recover and continue operations after attack, to be resilient. Now, a national incident response plan. This is a comprehensive plan for coordinating and responding to cyber attacks. And you need to practice it regularly so that it's familiar and everybody knows what to do, when to do. For example, if a fire alarm went off right now, none of you would sit here listening to me. You would all exit stage left. None of you will go in the lift. Hopefully, you will run down the stairs to an assembled place. You don't even have to think about it. It's second nature. That's how second nature the National Cyber Incident Response Plan needs to be. We need to practice and do drills so that we're not running around like headless chickens at the next cyber attack, and not if, because it's not a matter of if, it's when it's coming. A nation should also have an AI and emerging tech strategy to harness the potential of these technologies for economic growth and societal benefit. Being cognizant that what is deemed emerging tech today will be historical tech soon. So the strategy should be broad-based enough to encompass the fast-evolving digital space, and to this end, it needs to have at least 4 main components. Research and development, so that we can keep up to pace with emerging technology. Talent development, so that we're developing the right talent to churn out into the industry. Ethical considerations. Ethics, ethics, ethics. With emerging technology, we need to ensure ethics is at the forefront. And then we need to ensure that we have both regional and international cooperation, because this is not something we can work in a silo. We need to work with our neighbors. Now, when it comes to software coding policies, African governments must regulate software coding to ensure the safety, security, and the privacy of their citizens' data, particularly as digital economies grow. This is because unregulated software development can lead to vulnerabilities, making it easier for cyber criminals to exploit loopholes and access sensitive data. Also, by regulating it, we ensure that it meets international standards. And it's important for African software codes to comply with international standards, so that whilst we're encouraging innovation, this is done in a secure environment. A lot of you Kenyan youth are so tech savvy. We saw what you guys did during the Gen Z riots, where we find one app, there's another one being developed. But we need to ensure that your coding is competitive on the global stage. And that's why we need to adopt to the international standards. Okay, I can see Ian standing, and I'm just ignoring him. But I'm going to the next slide. I'm about to wind up. Because I came here to talk about laws and regulations. And the reason I've highlighted the key, you can go to the next slide. The reason I've highlighted the key cybersecurity frameworks and strategies is because they provide a foundational structure for the development and implementation of effective cyber laws and regulations by ensuring a consistent approach to addressing cybersecurity risks. We develop laws from all these frameworks, from all these policies, and that's why they're important. And just to quickly give an example, in Kenya we have our Computer Misuse and Cybercrimes Act, the CMCA. Now, when we were drafting this, emerging technology was not a thing. This is why I tell you things evolve every day and very fast. So what did we do? We talked about things like blockchain technology in it, feeling we were, with it. But now we need to go back and review that act and maybe put a definition for something called emerging technology, a broad-based technology which doesn't stipulate quantum, doesn't stipulate AI, blockchain, but it's broad-based enough that whatever emerging technology, I'd ask you to move to the next slide. I don't know who's changing it. Stuck, because I put up what emerging technologies was meant to be, but it needed to be so broad-based that it gives us time to evolve, because we can't keep changing the laws every day. Otherwise, there will be anarchy in society and people won't know what to comply with. But by having this broad-based definition, we can develop regulations for each emerging technology as it comes about. Now, the other thing is that we can't do this alone. Cybersecurity is a multi-stakeholder field. Cybercrime is a transnational crime. It's borderless. So in the face of the borderless nature of cybercrime, African nations must forge strong regional and international collaborations. And that's why I love all the different speakers we had here today, because it shows you that international and regional collaboration. And this will enable us pool our resources. It's expensive. Share expertise, we're not many, and develop comprehensive strategies to combat cyber threats. The siloed approach can no longer work. Now, finally, as I, for real, wind up, in a room full of many university students, I can't walk away without talking about the future. Can they please move my slides to the one on capacity building, whoever's doing it? As of 2024, this year, the global deficit of cybersecurity professionals is estimated to be about 4.8 million. Iko kazi, as we say in Kenya, there's work. And this figure represents a significant gap between the demand for cybersecurity expertise and the availability supply. Cybersecurity, you can work remotely. You don't even need to go into an office. You can be working here, serving another jurisdiction. So if you're not thinking about getting into this field, please do. There is work, and we're looking for capacity. But several factors have contributed to this shortage. Rapid digitalization. So the field is evolving very fast. So look for what is new and don't try and stick to what is old and safe. They're very complex threats. And then the lack of talent, and let's call it a spade. It's expensive. So how can governments help you on this? Governments can build industry and academic partnerships, kind of like what the University of Nairobi has done here with CyberPro. First of all, let me just admit, this is my first time within the University of Nairobi, and I'm so excited. My father must be smiling from heaven because he's an alumni when this place was called the University of East Africa. So for me, this is a personal, wow. But we need to build this industry academic partnerships to effectively secure our national and regional cyberspace. And to do this, we need to forge strong partnerships between universities and tech companies. And these collaborations can ensure that cybersecurity education aligns with real-world challenges, preparing students for in-demand roles. By working together, academia and industry can develop comprehensive curricula, conduct joint research. We need a lot of research because it's emerging, and facilitate the internships and apprenticeships that you've been asking for. The second one is to establish national centers of excellence dedicated to cybersecurity, AI, and other emerging technologies. And these centers can serve as hubs for research, training, and policy development, which is what leads to the creation of the laws and the regulation. They'll also foster innovation and drive advancements in these critical fields. Kenya is a Silicon Savannah. We can do this. Africa can do this. By bringing together experts from various sectors, including government, academia, and the industry, these centers can develop best practices, share knowledge, and coordinate efforts to address cyber threats. I finished, Ian. You don't have to kick me off. Thank you very much for your time, and it's been an honor to be here.
I'm being the perfect gentleman because I don't want to usher out Mutheu alone. Just want to keep her company here. If you want to go to make sure that you get to the international standards, then the person that you need to partner very closely with is Mutheu, and she does a fantastic job, and we appreciate the wealth of wisdom that she's able to come and bring in this pertinent conversation. Please, let's appreciate Mutheu Kimulu once again with a round of applause. Thank you. We appreciate you. Just wanted to find out probably from Mutheu and Sanjeev and the rest of the speakers, is there possibility for this presentation? I know that those who might come and ask, how do I access some of this presentation? Probably Mr. Mutunga will give me guidance, and then we'll be able to communicate that to you. I see some of the speakers usually posting it on their LinkedIn profile for accessibility, but I need to talk to my superior, Mr. Mutunga, to give me guidance, and then we'll come back and reconvene on the same with the delegates that are here. Fantastic, thank you once again. Now we want to get into a panel discussion. That we want to be discussing on the legislation on cybercrime and electronic evidence. Thank you so much, first of all, for your patience. Thank you for your patience, especially when it comes to the time. We know this is where Murphy's Law might apply, but this panel discussion is going to be quite informative, especially for each and every one of us that are here, where we are going to be discussing on the legislation on cybercrime and also electronic evidence. So I have the privilege of calling upon the panelists who are going to come and join me on stage, and then I will conclude with the moderator of that particular panel. Ladies and gentlemen, our very first panelist in this particular discussion, please help me appreciate with a warm round of applause as we bring on stage Cynthia Chepkemoi as she comes forward. Please, and as we say in Swahili, makofi tafadhali, as we appreciate Cynthia Chepkemoi as she comes on stage. Welcome, Cynthia. We're glad to have you here. Our second panelist, ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to call on stage none other, once again, than Sanjeev Sharma. Sanjeev Sharma, let's appreciate Sanjeev as he comes forward. Also to join us on stage, we have one of our partners who have worked with us to make sure that this event is a success. Please help me appreciate Hannah Kituku, representing Hannah Kituku Advocates. Makofi tafadhali ya Hannah Kituku. Hannah, we are glad to have you here. And you are an exceptional lawyer, and we appreciate your presence here. Thank you, Hannah. And also on stage, we'd like to invite the very presence of Benta Kamau. Benta Kamau to come and join us on stage. A fantastic lawyer. Thank you, Benta. And also still to join us on this particular panel, ladies and gentlemen, help me appreciate once again Mr. Philip Kisaka. Philip Kisaka, I hope he's still here. Mr. Philip Kisaka, right, in absentia. All right, fantastic. He had to step out. A small emergency came through. And to moderate this panel, ladies and gentlemen, please help me appreciate the seasoned, the legendary, the man, the myth, the legend, Dr. David Njoga. Please let's appreciate Dr. David Njoga. Welcome once again, and we are glad, looking forward to the conversation. Thank you.
I think this panel is dominated by a lot of in that morning to give 1 minute starting with in terms of where are we security laws.
My name is Benta. I am a lawyer. Both in cyber. On to the question. Computer misuse and cybercrime. Solid legal framework. There was a cyber related question will be in what is statutory framework, which law are you bringing this case before this court? And that means with this law, I believe the courts have made some strides in terms of just appreciating that the nature of crime is changing. We need to keep up with that. It's no longer the in terms of stealing or an individual your money physically or just mugging you. It has transitioned. Like for instance, we have under the CBK, we have the banking fraud investigation unit, whereby you realize most of these criminal activities are perpetuated on online platforms or money transfer and remittances platform through your credit cards, etc. So then the question is, how do we go about prosecuting such a crime? So this law has really come in to fill that lacuna and provide us with the framework in terms of, I think we have the substantive law, which is the Act, and the procedural law, which is the regulation that we have now. And it has really come in handy in supporting the procedure on how to prosecute offenses that are perpetrated in the cyberspace, so to say.
Association.
In regard to computer misuse, Because before we would not have had we have a very comprehensive operationalized now missing conspicuously from the Cyber Crimes Act. So at least that again needs to be revisited, and we need to review the act to add this particular AI and many other things.
We'll talk about subsequently.
Okay, fine.
Sanjeev, you are honored that this university, if they give you powers, we may confer you with an honorary degree in law after this panel discussion. But just give us your quick insights about the cyber laws in the context of global practice, being a global practitioner.
All right. I happen to be the only non-lawyer and non-advocate on this panel. But yes, I can talk from the technology. If, I am aware that there is awareness about cybersecurity. How much are they being implemented is a big question, because we can do a lot on cybersecurity awareness, because that's exactly where the cyber criminals focus on. It's the common man who's most vulnerable. It's the people at the front, at the very, very basic functions, who are not into IT, who are not into technology, who are not so technologically savvy. So there are mandates and there are regulations to make them aware. If we can make it more stringent in terms of everybody should be taken through those programs, it'll be great. There are tools which are available for if a crime happens, then what to look for, how to look for, which can help then getting the criminals to task. But as far as the global perspective is concerned, we need more tighter regulations on everybody to be covered on at least awareness. I think that's where we should be starting.
Okay, thank you very much. For those who are planning to leave, I would urge you to hold your horses for a few more minutes, because there's pro bono cyber legal services here today, which might be of importance to you. Otherwise, tomorrow when you go to the legal counsels in the offices, they'll give you a fee note. Maybe let's get back to Benta. And looking at the Kenyan ecosystem, I know the journey has been long. And again, look at Kenya as a leading digital economy in the region. There have been numerous cyber crimes perpetrated, and some have found their way to the courts of law. Maybe just take us through some success rate of those of those cyber crimes, and what you would say as some of the obstacles. at that. Maybe let me put this to Hannah, again, an advocate of the courts. Looking at the scenario as it is, and the fact that cyber crimes really are crimes which are perpetrated on digital platforms. Therefore, we've seen a lot of back and forth discussions between officers of court, suspected criminals, and so on and so forth in terms of evidence. Now, in view to the Evidence Act, vis-a-vis the type of evidence that is required in this kind of cyber crime cases, do you see an opportunity in terms of where gaps are which could make prosecution more effective?
Now, let me talk in terms of civil matters first, because in law we have civil matters and we have criminal matters. Now, if we look at the civil matters, the Evidence Act is very clear. If today somebody harassed you, yeah, and you're supposed to adduce the evidence. Now that harassment, you have to come up with what did they use, what item did they use. If they used the phone, if they used the computer under Section 106B, you have to produce that evidence in a certificate. So ideally, if it is on phone, it has to be, you have to record it's called the IMEI number. You must record that number. You must say whose phone it is. You must say, now when you removed from the phone, then you transferred to a computer so that you went and printed it, and then you brought it to court. You have to give track of all that. Now, you moved it from that phone. Then you took it to which computer? What is the number of that computer? So it becomes a bit complicated, and you have to produce a certificate. Sometimes your certificate might not be valid according to the court, because probably the number you have quoted does not tally with the computer you used. Sometimes you only go to a cyber, because not all of us have printers in our houses, isn't it? So you may just go to a cyber, you print very fast. You know, courts are always in a rush. You have to do things very fast. You have to move at a very fast pace. So you've printed something from the cyber. Of course, you did not note the number of that computer you use or the printer you use. Now the court needs that number. So again, you have to go to those people. You have to explain to them why you want to do it. So it becomes a bit complicated, and I wish we would amend the laws so that it doesn't have to be that complicated. Because unless you're going to small courts like small claims court, where you can easily print a WhatsApp message and take it to the court, and the court will admit it. But if you go to any other subordinate court, or the High Court, or the Court of Appeal, you must produce the certificate. And that certificate, getting it might not be so hard, but it might not be exactly the way the court wants it, and you might lose the case in that particular case. Now, in criminal cases, it is quite different. Criminal is only a matter of proving, or of course, beyond reasonable doubt. Anytime you go to a criminal law court, you must prove your claim beyond reasonable doubt. Now, reasonable doubt is very hard, because it means there should not be an iota of doubt. And you must be able to put all your documentation in place, all evidence that you might have. If it is an individual who saw, or the individual who is the one who processed, everything must be there, and to prove that case beyond reasonable doubt for it to sell. So it's a bit complicated, but then again, there are our laws. Unless we go and amend them, I would say, allow me to say this, that I think we should have a specific court, specifically for cybercrimes. I think now that court, we can come up with regulations and the laws and the procedures of how we admit the evidence. And then we can amend our Evidence Act to accommodate that particular court.
Okay, thank you very much. While still there, maybe let me pass the baton now to Cynthia. In regards to the various institutions that are in the ecosystem of cyber crimes, starting with the body that is mandated to conduct any criminal investigations, in this case, the National Police Service, the body or the agency that is entrusted with all matters prosecutions, as well as the judiciary that will now preside over the process. What do you see in terms of the strengths and some of the gaps that could enhance cybercrime management in those institutions?
Well, so I'd say that previously, I think we've had this conversation, and there are previous speakers who touched on the issue of collaboration and the role of multi-agency institutions in terms of prosecuting the cyber crimes. So I believe when there is a proper framework and strategy in terms of what role does the National Police Service play and at what point? And do they have the necessary skill sets to actually carry out such investigation? And I think one of the most important skill set is just how to handle the digital evidence from the point of acquisition, presenting them in court. And this is where previously we had police officers appearing in court as prosecutors, which has changed over time. So do these same prosecutors also understand the procedure of acquiring digital evidence? And has the government invested in building capacity to fill the gaps that are there? Secondly, you've talked about the judiciary. We have to have a 360 overview of how the case is prosecuted end to end. So the question is, do the judge or does the judge sitting in front of you understand, appreciate how this process is undertaken? So where we have a mishap or let's say a gap in terms of capacity of all the professionals engaged in this process, then probably the court might reach a decision that is probably flawed because of how evidence was acquired, presented, and even understood by the judge. So we really have a responsibility as public-private institutions to partner in building capacity, enhancing knowledge across our judiciary officers and police officers, including the prosecutors, for us to prosecute cases in a
Fantastic. Now, let me get to Sanjeev. Sanjeev, who is about to earn an honorary law degree from the University of Nairobi, taught by CyberPro Global. Now, Mr. Sanjeev, tell us, look at the landscape of the business of EC Council. I'm not presuming, but I am well aware that you are in the business, you're a professional body of knowledge, capacity building, certification, and so on in matters of cybersecurity. So how has the EC Council positioned itself to deal with the skill gaps which are required within the cybercrime management, particularly in cybercrime investigations and prosecution?
All right, thank you for that question. EC Council is not just about certification and training. We do end-to-end solutions at EC Council. So earlier I was talking about the mandates and regulations on awareness. So we have a awareness solution wherein you have a platform from which you can actually do simulated phishing, wishing, and smishing campaigns to identify vulnerabilities. And then when they are identified at an individual level, at a department level, at a location level, then you know exactly who are the vulnerable guys, and then you train them. And that's how you kind of keep securing organizations, regions, and probably the entire nation. It's a process. It's not a one-time activity, and it has to be done over a period of time. So that's one of the solutions which we have. There was a talk about evidence and investigation. So just like we've seen so many movies where whenever a crime happens, there are different teams which comes in. There is an investigation team, there's a forensics team, there is a police team. And so similarly, you can have in the cybercrime, you can have all these teams go in, and it may not be different teams, it may be the same person, but there are tools available and there are techniques available to look for the evidence, look for the digital footprint of how the crime happened, where all did it happen, and even before it happens, there is threat intelligence which is there on previous such attacks which can be used, techniques, modalities, and after it has happened, then how do you do incident handling, response? So there are all of these courses available in not just at EC Council, but in the training domain, where students can actually learn how to look, where to look, what to look for, and how to then ensure that it is evidence which can be actually taken to a court of law. To a previous thing which you were just mentioning in terms of you need to have specialized courts, I know of fact that there are specialized cyber cells now. And there again, we go in and we train people on how to look for things And in many countries, I know there are cyber police stations. And there again, you can go and do all these trainings. So we are doing all of that in terms of equipping, training people, and enabling them to look for all that evidence which is acceptable in courts.
Yeah, I think what is coming out here is that yes, the laws may be adequate or not because of the changing times and the dynamic nature of technology and cybercrimes that emanate from that of technology platform. We are also seeing that yes, there's some specialized skills which are required by all the persons in the ecosystem of cybercrime management, from the investigations team, which is a police service, prosecution team, as well as the judiciary. So again, that brings a focus into how prepared are we to fight with the cyber crimes that are getting more and more sophisticated. So I would like us to look at just one more thing in terms of our Kenyan law, and I would like Benta, if you could respond to this. Looking at our law, how do you think, what are some of the quick proposals you could make to make it better aligned for our digital transformation agenda, which could inform some improvement of cybersecurity workforce?
I would say in the field where I am right now, let's say the legal field, like Counsel Hannah has noted, it would be important to have specialized courts. For instance, in Kenya, if you are charged maybe with a crime under the Economic and Crimes Act, you'll go to the Anti-Corruption Division. Similarly, because cybercrime keeps changing, the way it is now will not be the same way it will be 10 years to come. There is need to invest further in the judiciary, in the legal system itself, that is the lawyers, and that comes from as far as training. Like, I feel like for all of us who are seated here, we didn't learn anything in the curriculum about cybersecurity law. So it is something that should be noted by the key industry players to ensure that cybersecurity law keeps changing as crime also keeps changing. And finally, in also the investigative departments, there is a cybercrime division at the DCI, but in most instances, and in practice, what we have seen, that department relies on the reports that are gathered by the cybersecurity analysts. What I mean by this is that as an analyst or as an engineer, perhaps working in the field of cybersecurity, the time the definition we were given of cybersecurity by our first speaker, you'll find that that is not the interpretation we as lawyers have. So when making these reports, it's important to ensure that the language is very simple, very articulate. It doesn't, there's the aspect that a cybersecurity analyst will understand, but also for the judges and for the people who are going to be relying on that report, it's important to ensure that the reports come in a somewhat simple manner, so that the investigators, that is the DCI, when they are called in court to support that report, they are able to understand what is happening.
Yeah, while at that, Sanjeev, maybe because you are a global leader in training and of other things in this space of technology and cybersecurity, maybe, of course, globally, most ecosystems, including Kenya, we look upon other established standards and frameworks, one of them being the NICE framework for cybersecurity capacity building, which is based from the NIST. So maybe, would you just shed light in terms of what do you see as some of the cybersecurity workforce priorities for an ecosystem like Kenya, which I think is quite familiar to you?
Okay, so there are global certification accreditation bodies. They do have some frameworks in place, and those are frameworks which are made looking at the efficacy of the program and how effective they are. Now, you mentioned about NICE. We also have accreditations, which is like Department of Defense in the US. There is also ANSI, American National Standards Institute. NICE, of course, is a framework which one needs to comply with. The thing is that when you have programs which talk to such accreditations and frameworks, then you know that there is a process which has been followed and then the kind of expected results which you can get. Same is applicable not just in Kenya, all over the world. So the fact that a Department of Defense or the US Army or the US Navy or Air Force or UK Air Force or Malaysian Army, these are all the guys who then have gone ahead and taken courses from EC Council to train their workforce, is the fact that they comply with their regulations, they comply with their requirements, and they are being effective. So these accreditations and these affiliations are only there to ensure what is required is being delivered.
Yeah, thank you very much. And looking at the current landscape and the future landscape, and I would like to put this question Anna. Now, in terms of the technologies that we are seeing, of course, disrupting our ecosystem, as well as enhancing our operations, such as AI, cloud computing, quantum computing, Internet of Things, and so on and so forth. What do you think are some of the quick interventions, if not maybe major reforms, that could be put in place so that the cyber crimes emanating from new and emerging technologies can be curbed?
I believe it's just looking into the laws. We need to go back to the drawing board. The Computer Misuse and Cyber Crimes Act is not very comprehensive in terms of AI, as I had said earlier. So we need to revisit and review it. Alternatively, we get another act that provides specifically for AI issues and other arising issues. Because I already feel that AI is also broad and might not be compensated inside the Cyber Act and might bring a bit of confusion. And I also find that the Act also provides mostly for criminal acts and nothing civil. So we need an act that not only looks at the criminal aspect, but also looks at the civil aspect of it. So that if I need to be compensated for cyberbullying, then I can get some money out of it as much as you are also convicted of that particular offense. So I think we totally need a new act, not necessarily what we have, something different to just handle AI and other arising Cyber Act problems.
Yeah, Cynthia, I would like to recall, I think one speaker in the morning session indicated that we like rushing to propose a new law to a new challenge. So then that we have, very complex ecosystem of laws, and if that is the case in a very dynamic environment like in technology, then it becomes, we keep, while we are developing a new law, we have to, amend it in transit. So do you think we need to regulate technology, or we need to regulate use of that technology?
Wow, that's a mouthful one. Yeah, I think from my perspective, as technology advances, what happens is the law is always playing catch up. So a technology comes, we adopt, we implement, we gain the benefits until it causes a harm. Then we're like, okay, we need to regulate. But then I think we are so quick to regulate, but not also appreciate the existing frameworks, because I know there are international global standards that have been developed. How about we go back, take a step back, and look at a framework like NIST, ISO, because they provide the controls. And the question is, how many of us know and appreciate those frameworks? So it's a matter of knowledge, And we need to learn, like, to just appreciate what is there already, because we could be regulating, coming up with local laws, but there are existing laws. Like, for instance, right now in Kenya, we've not ratified the Malabo Convention, that is the African Union Convention on Cybersecurity and Data Protection. So we have our own law, which I believe it's also much better than that framework, and it offers better an outline on how to regulate privacy. Then how about cybersecurity? We have the Computer Misuse and Cyber Crimes Regulation that came into force March 2024. So the question is, what gap is this regulation filling in terms of bringing in governance aspect, control aspect in terms of assessing risks, and also compliance? So if these frameworks provide those three solid GRC frameworks, then we know we are covered. So we can look beyond what we need to do locally. We have not also ratified the Budapest Convention. So it means we have a long way to go, and we can rely on model laws to get the best. So the technology will always be ahead, but then it's about, let's not end up having siloed procedures for each. Like, I can give an example of when a breach happens. I work in a financial institution. I need to report to the Office of the Data Protection Commissioner. At the same time, this breach happened on a critical infrastructure, right? I need to report to KSAT. So how about we harmonize and have a central depository of how to handle incidents? Because the law will bring in, we'll have many disintegrated processes which do not really do much help, but create so many processes that delays each and every compliance requirement. Yeah.
Thank you. As we take the last one, let me take this to mentor. Now, looking at national awareness levels of the citizens on cybersecurity laws, I think is a pertinent contributor towards action or prevention of cybercrimes. What's your assessment of that awareness level of the citizenry?
I feel like that, in my opinion, I personally don't think, maybe just using a local example, telecommunication services, they create awareness by informing you or by calling you and telling you that Safaricom, for instance, sorry for naming the telecommunication, but they'll call you and tell you you'll never receive a phone call from Safaricom, or where they'll ask you like for your personal information. Sometimes you'll get messages from your bank telling you that as a bank, we'll never ask you for any pertinent information. I don't think that is enough awareness that is created to the consumer. And it's an area where agencies like the consumer protection and maybe the relevant authorities need to come together to raise the criteria of what is known as awareness in the public. The standard needs to be higher because it's, as noted, the kind of money that is being lost in Africa on account of cybercrime is quite high. And this also translates to the low, quite the low standard we have in creating awareness among members of the public. So there is need to emphasize more and maybe to raise the criteria such that these institutions are held to a higher responsibility when it comes to informing the public of certain measures, or maybe prohibiting the public from taking certain actions.
Thank you, Sanjeev. Maybe your last question is that looking at the future of technology and the future of cybercrime, what do you see as some of the critical capacities or skills that the practitioners in that space of cybercrime investigations and prosecution should invest in?
Thank you so much. I've been talking about this not just in this discussion, but even in my talk. there is a huge need for awareness, like what just Benta was also saying. And there isn't enough awareness right now. And a lot has to be invested in making each and every individual so aware that they think twice before clicking on that link on that email or that SMS, or even thinking about giving away information or answering that call which somebody impersonates as a police officer or somebody and then says, okay, I want this information, or come across to the station and I want. So there are all these kind of things which is happening. It hasn't helped that now with newer technologies like AI, you can't even make out if the other guy is real or not. And there's so much deep fake and false news which is floating around. So there can't be enough awareness to be spread around all of this, and there's a huge investment which is required around just awareness. The second thing is training. We need enough trained people across all verticals. Just to tell you, today every company or every organization or every government department, they have a IT executive. He is the guy, or an IT support person. He is a guy who supports in plugging the machine, in putting the windows up, or in getting Microsoft Word or Office, just the basics. That's the guy who's there. Do we have a cybersecurity support person in any of the organizations or in any government department? We don't. We depend on the CISO to do all the work, if there is a CISO. Or it is left to the IT department who's not skilled enough. So you're asking somebody to fight a battle without equipping them with the enough ammunition or to safeguard themselves. They aren't equipped, they are found without any weaponry, without any due notice, and they are attacked and they are killed. So there has to be a lot of skilling at each level. It has to start with the very basic level of just a support function. From there, then you need to have a network defense person or a ethical hacking guys, a red team or a blue team. From there, you need to have a VAPT team, network defense team, incident handling team, response team, cloud team, SOC team, application security team. So those are all the areas in which you build it. And then you reach the CISO level. So there is so much to be done, and there is so much investment. It has to start first with awareness and then building it up. And that can only be done if we start at the grassroots level. It has to start with school leavers. It has to start with the universities. Everybody has to be getting made aware so that they can take the knowledge, they can take the information and spread it more, and then programs to be given to them so that they can take this as a career option and grow. So cybersecurity is both as a threat as well as opportunity is going to stay for a very long time. So that is where a lot of investment has to come in.
Thank you very much. Hannah, your parting shot.
My parting shot. We have a good law. It just needs to be reviewed and amended, or we get another law to supplement that particular law. The only issue I have with that law, the act, is that I find it very less punitive, because the minimum fine you can be fined in court is 200,000 Kenyan shillings, and I find that very little amount to deter any crime. So I think we need to go back to the drawing board and review all the crimes, the penalties in particular, and maybe make them nothing less than 2 million, so that when you're doing a crime, you should know you'll be parting with a hefty amount of money. That's my parting shot.
Thank you. Cynthia?
Well, so to wrap up, my parting shot will be that in as much as we are trying to identify the opportunities, the gaps, the challenges, etc., there's one kind of approach I like when we are dealing with laws and regulations. That is, we need to invest heavily on the people. Let's train the people. We build the processes. We get cutting edge technologies, but the question is at what cost? Yeah. And finally, the policies, because that is the best way we can handle some of the challenges and the gaps that are there across the industry. From a global or actually national perspective, is we need to embrace the laws as practitioners in different fields. We need to upskill, always take up the certifications. I know the challenge is everyone says our jobs are being, taken by AI, etc. But then the question is, do you have the necessary skills to fit in that role? Because right now, institutions across the globe are hiring, for example, AI governance officer or chief officer. Then the question is, from Kenya, with your skill set, are you competitive enough for that job? So we take personal responsibility when it comes to career advancement. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Benta?
I believe the thing that is going to set you apart is the need and consistently seeking out information. There are so many, like Mr. Sanjeev has mentioned, there are quite a number of professional courses that you can take, but you won't know of these professional courses if you don't take the initiative to go out there and discover, have the spirit to learn, and don't also be afraid to ask for assistance from anyone. Knock on those doors, seek out what you are looking for, and never lose the desire and the drive to learn.
Thank you very much, my distinguished discussants. Just to wrap up, I think key takeaways from this discussion are that yes, the law is adequate. However, it needs some reforms to align with the current and future challenges, some of which are emanating from new and emerging technologies related to cybercrimes. We also talked about requirement for a specialized cybercrimes court and more capacity building in institutions such as the National Police Service, DPP, the judiciary, so that we have officers who are capable of dealing with the challenges of cybercrime. Again, the issue of awareness has been emphasized and is really key, as well as specialized skills amongst various personnel from the lowest level, what Mr. Sanjeev mentioned as a cybersecurity technician, being very young graduates. And lastly, we must invest in the people because the people that have the power to maintain law and order within the ecosystem. Thank you very much, my distinguished panelists, and the audience for your participation, those who stayed with us up to the last minute. Thank you very much. I hope the MC will be generous enough to allow you ask us a few questions. Okay, he says no. Okay, let's take 2 questions. And we are going to moderate the question. Please ask a question. Don't explain the question.
Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Clifford Nderi. I am a data protection officer, and my question is with regard to development of laws. We have heard of inadequate laws and the proposal of having a law whenever a new technology comes. We've also had a contrary opinion where to have an overarching law so that we don't need to keep having new laws every time technology comes. So my question is this, because we understand that these laws are made in parliament and they usually are a product of 1 or 2 members of parliament who, I do not know how they come to this decision, but they decide there is a problem and this problem needs to be solved. So how can professionals such as yourselves and others, guarantee or find a way of guarantee that when these laws are made, there is adequate representation from these professionals to ensure that 1, a decision is made whether or not this law is needed in the first place, and number 2, if it indeed is decided that it is needed, that it is adequate to solve the problem that is anticipated. Thank you.
Terry, the next and the last question.
I'm sorry, and it's the passion of cyber that makes me ask. Yeah, please pardon me. This one is with regards to email spoofing. Right now, with the technology that has emerged, and this is directed to Sanjeev, how do we curb email spoofing? Because right now it is even surpassing the DMARC and the DKIM. If you have an info about it, and how do we curb this scenario of email spoofing? And as Advocate
Thank you. Is
Cancelana
that
said,
second question?
no, that's the first question.
We have taken it, huh?
Yes, so
Thank you.
this is the last one.
No, sorry, one question. Thank you. We've taken a
Please.
question direct to Mr. Sanjeev. Thank you. Let's give somebody else another opportunity. Okay, yeah, the last one, then we respond to all of them as we wrap up.
Okay, my name is Caleb. This goes to Dr. David. This is for you. What are the technical security measures that have been taken by your team to secure the Kenyan top-level domain? And what are the vulnerabilities discovered so far as you've been informed by the team and working under you?
Thank you for those questions. Maybe Mr. Sanjeev, take the first one. Sorry, take the one on email spoofing. Then any of the legal counsels, you may respond to Mr. Nderi on the process for lawmaking, where you would like, is asking why professionals are not involved. Maybe you could shed light on how everyone needs to be involved in that process. Then I'll take the last question by Caleb on top KE domains.
Okay, so it's a very easy one, by the way. You're saying there is increased email spoofing. That's exactly where the problem is. People are not even aware that these such mails exist and they are coming. If you look very intently into that mail, there'll be one very small deviation from the original one. So for example, you may get a mail from Amazon, okay? But it may not be Amazon, it may be something, the last letter or a dot maybe in between or something like that. And there'll be a picture which is very similar to the Amazon, but it'll be a different one. So first of all is to be aware that these kind of mails are coming, and then not to look at that. So one needs to know what to look for, okay? The moment people start looking for these things is when this becomes ineffective in itself. So there are people who are using all these techniques, they are masking it, they are spoofing it, but you can find out which one is the real one and which one is not the real one. And then, like I said, there has to be continuous such simulated attacks on people so that they repeatedly know what are these kind of mails, how do they come, where do they come from. You identify who are the vulnerable people who repeatedly keep clicking on that, and therefore then how do you train them? So there are methods and mechanisms to identify, to train, to tell them what to look for, and then obviously then there are mechanisms to find out who sent that mail and then how to bring them to task. So all of that is in place, by the way.
Well, so to respond to, let me go first then. To the lawmaking process and the procedure for engagement is like recently there was an AI public participation process. I don't know how many of us are aware, but if you belong to a professional group, that is, for example, the Data Governance Society of Kenya, DPGSK, that session happened, it took like an hour, there was an engagement. So the best way to do it is which professional group do you belong? Because that is where most of this information is aired. But I believe the government also has the responsibility to make sure that public participation is done meaningfully. Let's say as per the OECD principles on public participation. So were there meaningful engagement? Those are some of the questions. And how many, what was the threshold to qualify a public participation session as meaningful? So belong to professional groups to be on the lookout on Gazette notices, which it is also personal responsibility to check out which bill is in Parliament, when is it coming up for public participation, etc. So those are my 2 cents for now. Yeah.
Okay, and lastly, Caleb, on technical controls for the Kenyan top-level domains, that is the responsibility for an agency that is called KENIC. Okay? And as NC4, KENIC has been gazetted as a critical infrastructure. Therefore, as NC4, we have provided guidelines and controls for such entities to protect the data and the assets therein. We believe that KENIC is doing a good job because from time to time we compare notes on the security challenges and the vulnerabilities that they face from time to time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Panelists. The beauty about panel discussion is whenever you see the questions coming in, because the whole idea is to make sure that we can be able to have a very, very interactive session. All right, fantastic. Thank you very much for your engagement. To the panelists, to the moderator, we appreciate your contribution, and also to our delegates, we appreciate your participation still on this. Ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker is a distinguished governance risk and compliance professional that I've had the privilege of knowing personally for over 18 years of experience in consulting within the banking sectors. He has the following certifications when it comes to certified public accountant, and also he's a member of ISPAC. He's a certified fraud examiner and also a certified information systems auditor. He is a member of the ISACA Kenya chapter, where he serves as the treasury and is also a certified anti-money laundering specialist. He is coming representing the president of the ISACA Kenya chapter, Mercy Omolo. So he's coming in to represent, but he is currently the treasurer of the ISACA Kenya chapter. Ladies and gentlemen, help me appreciate Mr. Moses Karaoke as he comes forward.
To be so that we just to identify with the predicament that Dr. Jonathan, who spoke before me, the platform is dominated by lawyers, by IT specialists, but also accountants. We've not been left behind because automation also comes with its fair share of risks. And the request to my president, Madam Mercy Omolo, was to have a discussion around risk and compliance and the nexus between that particular concept and the concept of cybersecurity. So I'll quickly handle this. then we can pick any question that comes in it. So let's move. You'll keep looking at me. I do that, we move together. I'll just highlight a few subjects. That is on digital trust, a concept that we've been driving strongly at the ISACA Global, ISACA Kenya. ISACA stands for Information Systems Audit and Control Association. We are a membership body with over, I'll be giving some details around it, with over 154 chapters across the world. And ISACA Kenya, we are well represented. So I'll quickly be highlighting on the concept of digital trust, the present day risk management issues that we are faced with even as we drive digital trust within our organizations, the compliance consideration as we move or as we drive this particular concept, the intersection between risk and compliance even as we drive digital trust, the emerging technologies and how these are posing the risk and how we can go about complying with the various laws, regulations, policies of our organizations, even as we digitize. Why digital trust? Quite a heavy agenda, but I'll just speak through it. Why the focus on digital trust and what we have to offer in driving this particular agenda as ISACA Global, ISACA Kenya in this particular area. Let's move. What is digital trust? I'll explain this using a simple example. For the Kenyans, there is a mobile banking platform, or I'll call it, let me call it mobile banking. I'm in the financial sector, so I'll be tempted to talk a lot of banking terminologies. M-Pesa. What gives us the confidence that if you save some 5,000 Kenya shillings in that particular platform, tomorrow you'll find it intact when you need to transfer that particular amount or to add some more amount, the platform will be available. The concept here is that we have developed trust on that particular platform. The people, the processes, the technologies behind that particular platform, they have earned our confidence, and that's why we can keep our monies there. That is it in a layman's language. Okay, let's move. So as we discuss the concept of digital trust, it's good to appreciate that there are quite a number of components that need to feed into this for it to work within our organization. The reason as to why we have trusted Safaricom to that extent, we can keep adding more money, transacting on that particular platform without fear of loss. The reason as to why we have trusted our banks with the mobile platforms and digital platforms that we've been using to bank and perform transactions is because over time, we have developed trust in those particular platforms, okay? So what are some of the components that need to feed into this so that even as practitioners in this particular space, we can keep building on this to build trust among all the stakeholders, even as we digitize within the various environments. Number one is the concept of privacy and security, which has been discussed with some level of details, transparency and accountability, that whenever there is an issue, that will be handled objectively, necessary disclosures will be done, ethical practices or ethical use of technology, that the technology will not be used to the detriment of the stakeholders that are using this technology, reliability and performance, that we can rely on this particular technology today. Tomorrow it will be available to support the business, it will be available to support us and serve in the interest of all the stakeholders, and also trustworthiness of the organization. And this starts from the people, the processes within that particular organization, how the technology sits, that over time, this should be working for that digital trust to be built over time. So what are some of the present day risk issues that we are faced with even as we drive digital trust within our organizations or even across various industries? Number one, there are emerging threats and technology. We've just had a question around email spoofing. Every other time you will hear of an organization that has been hacked, data has been encrypted, an organization has been attacked, data has been stolen, an organization is being extorted. So those are emerging challenges every other day that we are faced with, even as we drive digital trust. Let's move to the next slide. Data privacy and protection related issues, supply chain related risks. A lot of outsourcing is happening within our organization, third-party risks that come with this. Risk assessment and quantification is also a concept that we need to master. That even as we manage risks within the organization, we need to know how to go about identifying these risks, quantifying them, ranking them, so that investment is done in a prioritized way to deal with risk, starting with the most critical to the least. then risk mitigation and response strategies need to be in place. And this is where even the accountants, we've not been left behind, even the economists, even the lawyers are coming into this particular space so that we can have concerted efforts to deal with the challenges in this particular space. Let's move to the next slide. Intersection of risk and compliance. Risk and compliance, how they intersect. We need to look at risk-based compliance, that as we drive compliance within organizations, within the various sectors to deal with the digital trust-related challenges or issues, there is need to understand or to drive compliance from a risk-based approach, giving priority to the resources that are considered critical. Compliance as a risk management tool comes in handy. Governance, risk, and compliance frameworks need to be in place. The speakers that have spoken before me have mentioned quite a number of frameworks that have been put in place to drive governance. ISO 27001 is another framework that I would wish to mention that serves very well in the area of security. On matters governance, we have COBIT 5. We have quite a number, you can mention this. An organization can choose to benchmark or work with any of these and gap against, and then develop the right controls in driving the right governance within the organization. Ethical consideration in risk and compliance, this need to be in place. That is balancing business needs with ethical principles. Let's move. As we drive digital trust, emerging technologies, quite a number have been mentioned by speakers before me. They will continue to come. Today, we are discussing cloud security, Internet of Things, where holding your mobile gadget, you are able to tell what is happening in your home, what is happening in your office, you are able to respond, you are able to work, you are able to communicate. The Internet of Things makes this possible. Related risks, artificial intelligence, blockchain technologies, all these are technologies that will continue to come. And tomorrow, maybe months to come, it will be another technology that will come to the fore. So all these will need to be addressed even as we drive digital trust within industries and within organizations. There is a framework on the next slide that tries to explain this, okay, on how the organization can drive digital trust, focusing on the, let's move to the next slide. The next slide, please. This is the framework I'm talking of. That as we drive digital trust within our organization, the processes, the technologies, the people, there needs to be proper communication and coordination of all this. And this framework brings it all together. At our own time, we can do some further research on it and see how we can build trust within our organizations to all stakeholders, that they can rely on the technologies that we have deployed within the industry. They can rely on the technologies that we are using to drive business and continue growing long-term sustainability and long-term prosperity of our organization. Let's move to the next slide. Why do we keep focusing our attention on digital trust? Why this discussion? Why is it important? To decrease costs, because when things are not working out, there is always the running helter-skelter trying to firefight. Okay? Leverage on emerging technologies for increased effectiveness, as we mentioned. Other than monitoring transactions one by one and dealing with frauds, machine learning and AI-related technologies come in to make this easier. Reporting and extraction of reports becomes easier using modern current technology or emerging technologies. To deepen customer loyalty, that if we get it right, as far as digital trust is concerned, when our customers can trust us, then they will be loyal, they will continue doing repeat business with us. If we are in charity, they will continue sticking with us without fear into helping our organization to achieve the set objectives. Let's move to the next slide. Improved operational efficiency and also improved board confidence. That as a management, the senior leaders seated around this table, that when you are doing it right and getting it right in driving digital trust, your governing bodies will have confidence in you. They will be happy with the kind of work that you are doing. So what is it that we have on the table to add value in this particular discussion in building trust within our organization? As ISACA, we have the Kenyan chapter, the Information Systems and Audit and Control Association. We have over 170,000 members across the globe with over 158 chapters. And the Kenya chapter is represented by, is led by our president, who I'm representing today, Madam Mercy Omolo, and we have a team member. I can see quite a number of my colleagues. Hello, Preston, our retired CEO is here, and my colleagues who are seated together with me. And we are available to support and work together with you as leaders, with you as students in building digital trust through offering various value propositions. We have various types of membership, professional members, graduate members, student members can join and keep building capacity in this particular area. You gain access to current materials, what is being offered, what is happening globally. And then these are some of the courses that we are offering. The Certified Information Systems Audit, which I am certified in and a trainer in the same. We have the CRISC. Yeah, let's move to the next slide. The next one. Next one. Sorry, I left you behind. This one, okay. There is another one, CRISC, that focuses on risk issues, CISM, on security management, all through to artificial intelligence, implementing the cyber security frameworks. We have others, all this. So we are a whole supermarket of value propositions, and you feel free to visit the ISACA Global, ISACA Kenya website to learn more on what we can do together, even as we drive the agenda of building digital trust. So what are the other value propositions that we have on the table? We have conferences. This is a partnership where we have come in as a sponsor member. We have local and international workshops, customized training as per organizational needs. If the organization needs specific trainings, we have a panel of consultants that can support you in that particular space. We have student membership, including one at the University of Nairobi, University of Pwani, UMA. So for the students, we are there, we are here, we have our desk. Over there, you can consult, look at our program from our website, and we see how we can work together. But over and above that, yeah, we've not forgotten the corporate social responsibilities. We build capacity, like in the area that our colleague was just asking questions, through free webinars, international academic scholarships, and community days. So keep visiting. Like currently, we will be running a sponsorship program for students. So keep checking on our website, see what we have to offer, and then we will be available. We are a non-profit organization, so we are not out to make money from anyone. We are here to drive value and create a win-win kind of situation with all the stakeholders. Thank you very much, Ian, for this opportunity. Asante sana.
Might we have any question, any burning question for Moses? Before he steps aside, any question from the floor? I think we are good, and ISACA is well represented, and also for their support and partnership. We know we also have part of the ISACA team at the far back. Let's appreciate Moses one more time with a round of applause. Thank you very much. Also, we're looking at, in the interest of time and also the audience that we currently have, I want to make a very kind and humble suggestion that would be to Nancy, Raphael, and Finn. Would it be okay that we can be able to move the discussions to tomorrow so that when we have a wider audience? Nancy, would that be okay with you? Finn, would that be what you'd like to do yours now? Okay. Raphael? Okay. Raphael, you'd be okay with that? Okay, so you'd like to do it today? Okay, no problem, for 3 minutes. So you have the 3 minutes and then the 3 minutes. Okay, that's okay. Okay, no problem. I believe that the technical team has the video. Technical team, if you have your video, give me a thumbs up. Thanks. All right. So, Nancy, on behalf of the leadership, we just want to sincerely apologize for that. We'll make sure that this can be allocated tomorrow for you at the appropriate time, and also a wider audience. I know you have a fantastic demo that is in place that you have prepared, and I'm confident that even when you do it tomorrow, it's going to be well executed and well accepted, right? So as we usually say, hand on heart, hand on heart. We apologize for that. At this point in time, let us go to protecting critical information infrastructure. And we have Mr. Finn Young from Sang4 Technologies, who's going to come forward, introduce himself, and then now we can give him the privilege of playing the video. Please, let's put our hands together for Finn. Finn, let's appreciate him. Thank you, Finn. Welcome, and thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Martin Ma from China, Sang4, and Finn, his flight is already cancelled, and he will meet you tomorrow. Let me do a brief introduce about Sang4. Sang4 is China leading cybersecurity and cloud solution provider. Maybe some of you are the first time to hear about Sang4, but actually we are not a new brand. Sang4 was founded in 2000. We have quite 23 years experience in data center domain, including cybersecurity and cloud. And after that, let's see the short video to recognize about Sang4. Thank you.
Has been at the heart of Sang4's mission. Philosophy has kept us at the forefront of cloud infrastructure and cybersecurity. There has more than 10,000 employees in offices around the globe, with at least 40% of our employees dedicated to research and development. A minimum of 24% of revenue generated is reinvested back into our 5 R&D centers. What makes Cyber so different? Over 100,000 customers offer cloud integration with both online and on-premise security solutions. Our solutions have the flexibility to meet your requirements while maintaining security, productivity, AI, and machine learning. We developed a highly sophisticated security architecture your long-term needs. Eliminate threats while giving you a 360-degree view with telemetry from network to world-class expert security. Organization's cybersecurity resources utilize more efficiently. This unified cloud architecture runs can be deployed anywhere you need, from on-premise data centers to edge locations to a remote office. Cloud platform, fully dedicated and isolated compute clusters that you can trust. Our unified cloud architecture with seamless customer experience allows you to focus on your business structure planning, maintenance, and operation complexity are reduced, meeting your compliance requirements affordably. We are the only global vendor that tailors our solutions to every country we serve. Our in-country data centers, local support and services personnel, local proactive professional services work with you to achieve your business by stopping cyber threats 24/7. Has been proven to build resilience for digital transformation. Best-in-class ratings from the industry's trusted analysts such as Gartner, Forrester, IDC, recognized and certified by test labs and institutions globally. Sang4 makes your business ready for the future and makes your digital transformation simpler and secure.
Thank you, Finn, for that. Finn, also just for your preparation, we might also show the, we'll also show the video again tomorrow, so that now if there are any questions in regards to that particular presentation, we can be able to proceed from there. All right? Fantastic. Great. At this point, I'd like to give the floor to Mr. Rafael Gadesha, who is a senior technical engineer and also consultant in this particular field. Please, let's appreciate Mr. Rafael Gadesha as he comes forward, and thank you for your patience, Mr. Gadesha. Welcome once again. Thank you.
All right, thank you. My name is Rafael. I'm a cybersecurity engineer. Time is far much gone. I started off my career as a it's always been an exciting thing, and especially for people who are beginning their career in cybersecurity. When we think about cybersecurity, everybody thinks about hacking, but cybersecurity is much broader than hacking. But we get the excitement of being able to hack systems. So that is really what got me into cybersecurity. But over time, as I have been doing vulnerability assessments and penetration testing for most organizations, what I've learned and I've gone back to is what we call cybersecurity governance, risk, and compliance. And what that really means is, besides organizations being able to close on vulnerabilities that are out there, the fundamentals about any cybersecurity setup or any organization is having their governance well done. And what does that really mean? It means that if you're an organization, you need to have your policies well done, frameworks well defined, processes well documented, and as well procedures well maintained. That's really what cybersecurity governance aspect would come to. But again, even as we speak about cybersecurity governance, there is an aspect of senior management being able to support the whole structure, and that means that all the processes, the frameworks that have been set up in an organization need to have that management, approval, and just it shows that there is management commitment to supporting cybersecurity in that organization. But again, as you're putting up all those nice frameworks, the policies that define what kind of controls you're going to put in an organization, it's also good to have a well-defined risk framework that will basically be able to help you identify what kind of environment you are in, what kind of risks you're exposed to. Say, for example, if you're in a banking institution, then just being able to define your policies, and again, looking at your environment and what kind of cybersecurity threats you face, then you can define you can define out your risks, and from that you are able to put in controls that will be able to mitigate what risks you'll be facing as an organization. But finally, again, as you're putting all those nice things, the policies, reviewing your risk and frameworks, then to make sure that each and every organization works and operates in an environment, and that could have compliance or regulatory matters. And therefore, and especially in whatever field you're in, if you're speaking about banking, there will be regulations that are there, and therefore you need to have compliance to that. And that brings about the compliance aspects that any organization need to consider. And it's part of either way risk management, such that you do not face fines when you're implementing cybersecurity. And just to conclude, it means that when you're implementing cybersecurity controls, you need to look at how you define your controls from the policy perspective, how you monitor your risks, and then how you comply to the regulations, and being able to make sure that everything is right. You do not want to go through hefty fines or reputational damage. And therefore, if we still have any students left, even as you get the excitement of performing vulnerability assessments and penetration testing, and again, being able to hack into systems, also think about how then organizations can get it right the first time. And getting it right the first time means being able to define your policies well, your risks well identified, and then being able to comply with your environment. Thank you very much. I hope there is no question, or if there is any question, I can take it afterwards.
I can just request if there's any question, any burning question that you might have for Mr. Gadesha. Yes, our chief convener has a question for Mr. Gadesha.
Yeah, so most organizations will try well, as part of governance and being able to have management support, being able to then define what really is a priority for you needs to be spelled out. And that's why you need to, as part of your risk register, then need to maintain what are the key